swimming is such a great sport. I mean, I really love it. I wasn't a particularly fit child. I wasn't particularly good at any other sport, but swimming is something I really love, and it's really lovely to share that passion for swimming that I have and be part of this.
Well, I'm really excited that there's so many people taking part of all abilities, and I think it's great that there's lots of youngsters that can swim with their mums and dads and stuff, and a lot of people have never done this before.
This British Gas Swim Britain initiative is so important. It's a great way to get families but also friends and people involved in swimming.
They're all here to support each other, which is great morale and hopefully will boost their confidence and self-esteem.
What we want is that in the next few years we want 500,000 people swimming regularly, and the benefits of that are huge.
It's a big challenge, but I think having events like this is really going to make a big difference to that.
Good morning and welcome to Tollcross International Swimming Centre in Glasgow. Coverage of the Scottish Gas National Championships. It's brought to you live and exclusive by Scottish Swimming in partnership with Glasgow Life, Scottish Gas, Speedo and QTV Sports. It's day 3 of what has already proved to be a fantastic championships. We've had Scottish records, British records and world ranked top 10 times. Last night we saw a galaxy of stars competing for the right to represent Scotland in this year's Commonwealth Games. Let's take a look at the best of the action. Here she is, once again, out on her own, head down, going for the wall. 8 strokes, 9 strokes to the wall. 2:12.94 to Hannah Miley. What a super swim. Absolutely excellent. Really good posting. And a signal to all those in the Commonwealth that she is ready to swim. Rennick doesn't want to lose this. It's 3:51.96 you're looking at. They close in on this. This is a wonderful little swim from Rennick. 3:48.34. Getting ever closer to that long-standing record. 3:46.7. And Rennick at this stage in the season posts out a top world time at 3:48. Katie Armitage of Hatfield, the Anglo-Scot, coached by Ian Wright, coming in at the last. A real good drive to take maybe Scott, but it's Johnson's race at the finish if she times it right. A 108.7 and a 108.9 and a 109.43. Top 3 swims. Great racing.
Fantastic racing there from the 2 girls from the University of Edinburgh.
In 3, you can see McGovern still struggling to get the lead. Now in the last 10 metres, Bennett moves into the lead, but being challenged in 5 with a very fast finishing McNally, and he takes the touch in 55.42, that 55.09. Still a hard ask for the qualifying time, but what a great race from these men. Briggs versus Lawson, 10 to go. Lucy Hope drifting to the left-hand side of the lane rope. Who's got the spotted finish? 3 of them reach together, and the victory goes to Lawson in 2:13.79. It's an excellent swim from the heats. It's an excellent swim for the 200 back. It's getting closer to the Scottish record of 2:12.6 by Hannah Miley. Ross Murdoch cutting down the lead as Michael Jimison starts to tie up just a little bit. Not getting the distance now. The legs are heavy They're not getting the power, but he knows to make the adjustment. 1 stroke to go. It's a 2:08.01. Remember his record at 2:07 point, a 2:08.1, very special swim. Murdoch in second place, 2:09.15, and Callum Tate in third at 2:11.02. The straight arm stroke of Arkin going into the wall, really accelerating into that bar. It's a good 25.57. It's the same time as the heats, but she's done it in the A final. She's won the race. Absolutely certain then of a nomination. Now they come, 10 metres to go. This is where it all happens.
Yeah, try and pick a winner here, Drew. Looks like Cameron Brodie, or perhaps up in lane 2.
Ooh, I said it could come from anywhere, and it's come from lane 1, 24.62. Nice to see us finishing at 24, so getting down to 24.3 I thought was a big ask to start with. Have a look at this. What do you see there?
Oh, it's going to be a great last 100 metres. Hannah's looking tired, but she's keeping that high tempo. Camilla Harris is really working.
Now we see a kick from Thornton. She's held that back. Beautiful. No leg action, all arm action for the first part.
I was just going to say the exact same thing. She just put the legs into the stroke there. It's all going to come down to the last 50.
Indeed, Hattersley still in contention. Thornton in lane 5 in the pink hat. Stroke for stroke with Miley. Miley, remember the experience. Remember the talent. She's in here for a race. Hattersley just off the gold medal position, but as we come to 25 to go, she moves up on the swims. Thornton is in danger. Miley quickening up the stroke, 5 metres to go, and Hannah Miley seems to have the edge. A long last left hand goes in. Hannah Miley in 8:36.49, the Scottish record at 8:33, and Hattersley 8:36.91 also goes under the time, as does Thornton. Well, what a set of swims from the 800 final heat. Still in lane 9, we've got to have this event close. At the front, it's Tigers. Tom Gallican bringing them home to the gold medal. Stephen Milne with every stroke hauling in. Glasgow, Sean Campsey. Johnson Shearer rather. Tight at the finish. The gold medal, 7:48, goes to Tigers. Good swim for Warner, and Stephen Milne has made up an absolute hanging on to the block with the effort for that team. What a split from Milne. Great swim from the team, and puts Perth in the bronze medal position. What a great final session it was, and a great day of racing we have to look forward to here today. I'm going to take a look at the events that are coming up in this morning's session, and in fact for the programme for the day. Here you have the men's 200 individual medley, and of course Dan Wallace, the star there. The women's 400 freestyle, back out is Camilla Hattersley and Hannah Miley in that. We move on to the 100 breaststroke. And of course that's a very tight finish. The men's 200 backstroke, looking to see if Craig McNally can come through to qualification. Women's 200 breaststroke, Hannah out again. 50 freestyle and 50 fly. The sprint events are all very tight. And finish with the men's 800 freestyle. Not an event in the Commonwealth Games, but nevertheless an exciting event to look forward to. Now, over the last 2 days, I've had the pleasure of sharing the commentary box with Scotland's former Commonwealth swimmer, Dave Leith. And I'm delighted to be joined again by Rob Lee this morning, another former Commonwealth swimmer. Welcome, Rob.
Thanks, Drew. It's good to be here.
And what have you seen up to now that's just taken your attention?
Well, obviously the obvious highlight for me was I popped along last night to watch the finals in person, and the obvious highlight was obviously Michael Jamieson in his 200 metres breaststroke. The 200 metres breaststroke, which obviously was a world-class 2:08.0, and not to mention Ross Murdoch's second place finish of 2:09.1, so two real world-class 200 breaststrokes last night. And obviously you've got Robbie Rennick, who's obviously a consistent world-class performer, and his 400 free his 3:48 was pretty special as well.
Yeah, I liked the 3:48. It's just nice to see him back down there, sub 50, and actually looking as if he was racing a bit better, you know. And he had company yesterday, which is what he needs.
Yeah, he did have company, and I think he seemed to respond quite well to that, and he managed to kick away from them in the last 50, which was good to see.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Now, this week's championships has as much to do with you at home as it does the summers here. And we want you to play a part in making this event Scottish swimming's biggest and best ever national championships. To have your say, tweet us using the hashtag SGNC2014. You'll find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Scottish Swimming. And wherever in the world you're swimming this weekend, take a picture and Instagram it in using the same hashtag, SGNC2014. We've actually been overwhelmed by a reaction to these championships, and we hope you'll remain excited and engaged by Scottish swimming's coverage for the remainder of the weekend and beyond. Don't forget the future. So if you'd like to keep up with all the latest Scottish video content, here's how you do it.
Welcome to Scottish Swimming's official YouTube channel. No matter if you compete or participate in swimming, disability swimming, diving, synchro, open water, water polo or masters, if you're a teacher, tutor or coach, or simply interested in what we're up to, this is the place to find it, from wherever you are in the world. On our channel, you can watch our key events live or on demand, or simply the highlights afterwards. All for free 24/7. If you subscribe, you'll not miss any new videos. So what are you waiting for?
All 12 sessions on the channel to revisit at your leisure, and daily highlights from the team at QTV Sports. Your support means so much, so get tweeting and we'll read out the best throughout the weekend. So the officials coming into place. Well, just like any swimming event, the third quarter of the performance is always tough. Day 3. We hope all the quirks and little glitches are ironed out and the whole thing can go very smoothly. So is there anything you're looking forward to today?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few events to look forward to this morning. I think the men's 100 breaststroke, again, sticking with the breaststroke is obviously a real world-class event for us at the moment, and we've got Michael Jamieson and Ross Murdoch from Stirling both in the mix there. Ross posted an excellent time in the 50, and obviously Michael had an excellent 200, so they'll obviously meet in the middle this morning and tonight, hopefully, for a real good race.
Okay, well, the action's just about ready, and we start off this morning, of course, with the men's 200 individual medley. Look forward to Duncan Scott, Mark Schranek and Dan Wallace, the potential contenders and the men who have been spotlighted for the team nomination. We start, however, in the first heat with and the second heat with some multi-classification. Often people don't understand it, and it's very difficult to explain every single category because it goes from, you know, category 1 right through to category 14, 15. So just realise that all the different types of handicap and disablement are classified first of all, and then there are points for the swim in that class, and so they have to swim together, which can make it look almost an uneven competition, and then the points are calculated later and the results are pulled off the points. But we've had a great session from the multi-class swimmers in day 1 and day 2, where there have been Scottish, British records and some fantastic swims. Men's 200 IM. Now the time you can expect over the event is about 3 minutes plus. We've got Neil Howie from East Lothian in 3, Lachlan Macbeth, he's from Highland and he's in 4, Matthew Patterson from Highland in 5. 200 IM, of course, remind you, butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, freestyle. And it's a tough event. All the skills are out, everything's out the cupboard, and you've got to have an all-round competence and all-round ability for the medley. Getting to the end of the fly, very positive touch on the pad from Matthew there, knocking on the door. And sadly, Lachlan Macbeth there forgotten to change to the backstroke. And influenced the swimmer in lane 5. Yeah, Rob, that's what happens.
It's a strange one, Drew. I don't know if I've ever seen that before, but...
Anyway, Lachlan, this will give the judges something to think about, won't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess we have to see what stroke they continue with here, but that is a strange one. I'm not sure, because obviously lane 5 did start on the backstroke and he switched, so... Nice fluent backstroke there from lane 3, I noticed. Nice tempo.
Well, it is a 200 IM, but he's swimming at like a 400 IM.
Let's hope he stops at 200, Drew.
Let's wonder what's going on here.
Give himself double the effort here.
Well, we will come to the 200 IM, I'm sure. I'm not sure what these swimmers are doing, but they're certainly lightening up the morning for me. Wonderful. In the lead, we've got Lachlan Macbeth from Highland, 20 years of age. His time on the 200 IM is 3:18.
So lane 3, Drew's looking 3:32 entry time, so he's going to be close to that if he keeps a good strong freestyle here.
Well, he seems to be in the mix, isn't it? Can't imagine the courage and the bravery to just get in there and do the training, do the preparation, and it's every bit as important and every bit to be applauded as anyone else in sport. Whether you're competing at a low level or a high level, all needs commitment, effort. Well, it's causing everybody questions to see whether or not. Turning and going. Definitely on a 400 medley program, this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the officials deal with this one.
And of course, with him setting off, it's now pulled Matthew Patterson into another swim.
So I think the officials are coming up to the end there and will probably give them a flag.
Well, you'd like to think they might have spotted that earlier, Rob.
Yeah.
So the morning session then, as I said, third day, it's always full of mistakes. He's stopped altogether. Well, what a shame. National Championships, the moment to do your best swim. We've had some great swims from the multi-classification. And they've just mistaken the event. They're swimming a 400 IM instead of a 200 IM. Not sure where that mistake would be made. And some sympathetic applause from the crowd this morning. What a shame for Lachlan and Matthew. So they're clearing the pool and the event rolls on. We still have a multi-classification swim. All the swimmers are ready and we've got swimmers in. Now remind you of course that the tow cross is a 10-lane facility, so up at the top of your screen you're looking at lane 0 and nearest to us competitor is in lane 9. So if you count 0, 1, 2, 3, then you come to, obviously the tradition in swimming events is to have the 4 and 5. Bounded by the golden lane lines. That's where the pole swimmers go, either in the seeding of the heats or the seeding of the finals. So we're seeing a little more attack on this 200 IM. And have you got a pattern for the 200 IM, Rob?
Yeah, I think the key thing, Drew, for 200 IM is always to get out nice and strong, but conserve your effort in that fly. So long and strong in the fly. When you're turning onto your back, you really want to keep the tempo going, but again, just conserve that effort for that second half. So you're looking for a nice high stroke rate in the backstroke. You know, nice flutter of the legs, but again, conserve the legs for that strong breaststroke kick. So it's really about easy speed in that first 100, Drew, and making sure that you can burst off that 100-metre turn with enough power for that breaststroke and then a strong finish in the freestyle. So obviously some swimmers will have strengths over others, and you're going to have to use that strength and capitalise on that, but you really need to conserve that effort in that 100, and hopefully these swimmers can do that.
Well, an overall race plan there from Rob Lee, and we can I think one of the things that came out of the first couple of days was just how people were not attacking the turn enough, not taking enough speed into the wall, and so some of the turns are a bit light, bit soft, breaking up the rhythm of the stroke too much. So yeah, nice plan.
I think if you, like you say, Drew, if you're drifting into the turn, you're not carrying that momentum and that energy into the turn that allows you to bounce back off, and I think that's key at this level.
So a good race. Remember, classification will be sorted out later. In lane 4, Connor Morrison from Geary, same club as Hannah Miley and the family there. Over in 2, we have Sean Fraser, City of Manchester, and Adam Melville in the middle, North Lanarkshire, digging in. 1, 2 and 3. Good strong finish. Now Connor entered in 2:31. He's out at 2:39. So I'm not sure about the entry times. Sometimes they are short course conversions. You're allowed to do that still, and it means that some of the times that come in are fast, and because they come from short course swims, and of course when you come to the long course it's quite a different experience. The event just closing. In lane 1, Adam Scott, and just completing his medley in lane 8, Andrew Mullen, Ren 96, the 17-year-old, 3:16, just outside his 3:13 entry time. So that will all be taken away to the officials, converted to the points for the classification swim. You can see there the order, the 2:39, 2:41, 2:43 finish. But there's a bit of calculation yet to be done before the results. And normally that's a heat declared winner, so all the times are converted to points, then they're ranked, and then we've got the winners and medal winners of the medley. So it's heat 3 of the 200 IM that sees the start to the able-bodied event. In the centre lane, Craig Barnes with a 2:16.6. The outside swims are 2:18 entries, so something to form. They'll be tight. No swimmer in 7, and they're underway. So, were you a medley swimmer, Rob?
I have done a few 200 and 400 IMs in my day, Drew. Obviously, my preference was the 200 IM. I found a bit easier to carry that speed through the 200 metres instead of holding it on to the full 400. But yeah, laterally in my career, I think I was predominantly a sprinter and moved away from the individual medleys.
Ah, the sprinters.
I think the medley's always good for those swimmers that do other events to break up the programme and provide a bit of variety. So you'll often see maybe freestylers or butterfly swimmers doing a bit of medley at the lower key competitions to break up that programme.
Okay, showing well over there in lane 1, Aaron Todd of Perth, also on a nice attack on the backstroke. Lane 3, Daniel McGregor of Warrender into the wall, most favouring the side on, and then stroke. This is the second swimmer, of course. Ian Rose swam a good day yesterday, made finals. The 7, 1, 2 and 3. No swimmer in lane 4, that's Callum Barrett of Loughborough, who's withdrawn. And in 5, Ross Hughes, North Ayrshire, at 2:15. The whole block of times on 2:15, 2:16. Could be a tight race.
Yeah, it's this easy speed again, Drew, that these guys look to be employing pretty well here. Certainly lane 2 and 3. Nice fluent, high tempo strokes, but it looks like they're conserving energy well. Lane 3 there has got a nice high tempo, still head. Beautiful backstroke.
Yeah, the tendency for age groupers is to swim a hard fly, and then when you get on the backstroke and it's easier, it's just to drop the tempo and drop the pace of the swim a little bit, take a little rest on the backstroke, and that's why it has been a major flaw in the medley over the years, but not any longer. It's just part of the whole 4-stroke setup.
So here's the breaststroke now. So I think the key thing, one of the key things in breaststroke during the IM is really to set, again, that high tempo, but don't snatch at the stroke. So you need to keep the length, catch at the front, strong kick, but make sure you're not having any dead spots at the front of your stroke. And again, it looks like lane 3 is doing that very well.
Matthew Curtis, Oxford University, driving into the wall. They're always glad to get on the freestyle and bring it home, see what they've got left. So entered on 2:15s, 25 to go. The pool, of course, full international pool, 10 lane, all the marks and signs in place. Driving into the wall, just going to be on that mark. Slipping out to 2:14, very low, 2:14.07 for the winner there. And the rest of the field coming back very, very hard on the freestyle. Now we have 6 heats, morning swims. The third fastest time goes into this heat 5 from the entries. That's Duncan Scott from the first group. And you coached there for a couple of years, Rob?
I did indeed, Drew, yes. So 2006 through to 2008, I had the pleasure of actually coaching Duncan. So I can confess to a special interest in this one.
You'll be watching it closely.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been a really talented youngster, Duncan. Since when I was coaching him, he was 9-10 years old, and you could see even from there he had a real talent. And obviously he's progressed very well since then, ranked. Well, he's in this the seeded heats here in the centre lane, so he's doing something right.
So top 3 in the centre there. It's Alistair Miley, Duncan Scott, David Masters. The Miley genetics working well here for Alistair. Is he really good backstroke, very quick turn, very shallow. Laura Summers will go a little bit deeper on the breaststroke start. Now they all pick it up. You can see they're looking for length, and they have to remind themselves and get their muscles to remember the breaststroke technique and what's important. And by 25, they're there in 25 very quickly, and then they have to build that second half.
Yeah, this is a good race developing here. Obviously Duncan's coming through a little bit more, but got lane 5 holding the front still. And traditionally Duncan's a 1 in 200 freestyler, so we're expecting a strong leg in the last 50 here.
Nice long turn from Masters. He just was patient. He got everything out of that turn. The butterfly leg kick, the first stroke, and the link into the freestyle swim. Duncan Scott with that lovely long stroke. Miley a little shorter, battling, but Masters is just driving away. The Loughborough man, 19 years of age. He's going to win this first of the seeded heats. And now we're down at 2:09 very quickly. Remember, 2:16s, 2:14s in the previous heat. We jumped to 9, 2 heats to go. Now they have the advantage. That's the problem of the first of the seeded heats. You know, the talented and expected finalists just not quite sure. They have a decision to make. The main man in this, Mark Schranek, talented youngster, was on fire last year. This year, bit of illness, bit of injury, and not quite on the same mark as he was last year. Sorry for the pun there.
Yeah, Mark's a really strong butterflyer, isn't he? You can see that straight away. A really strong leg kick at the back there. Pushing his body out of the water. Nice, easy speed.
Going with him is Glenn Surgelus. This is the club Viams from Belgium. They've just come off a Tenerife training camp. And the coach, Ron Gastra, has asked them to come here, a lot of events, and to just put all the racing skills into place. He's not that concerned about performance. I'm sure he'll be worried that he's top stars, because Surgelus is a European finalist, and the 4 young men from Belgium have won medals in the European level, so he'll be worried if it's a terrible swim, but you know, he's not really worried about top performance. See, they're preparing for the Europeans in August as Schranek moves into that lovely long breaststroke, and
indeed, yeah, it's key to get that qualifying time, and or indeed the qualification into the final.
So Schranek, well, lifted himself entirely. A nice 2:03.79, entry time of 2:00. Of course, Medley is at the top end, just trying to get underneath that 2-minute barrier. That's the first major barrier. And all skills, stroke skills, turns.
400 last night, Drew, didn't he? Racing Robbie Rennick pushed them all the way to the end, so we're expecting a strong IM, both 2 and 4 IM from Dan. Like you mentioned, he's training with Lochte out in Florida, which I guess is a major advantage in the IMs. Obviously, Lochte's the key guy globally for IMs at the moment. So, yeah, we're expecting a real strong race from Dan.
Now there's a little deeper on the turn, you see, giving a chance for that underwater pool to have an effect. But then you've got to angle up on the kick so that you break the surface. You're only allowed that one long pull underwater. Nice tempo, nice long rhythm. Other breaststrokers starting to come through. A battle in second place across the field. We've got Chris McComb, Ross Woolley. We've got Egan van der Straat from Belgium. And over here in lane 7, Gavin Hagerwood as Wallace gets well into the freestyle.
Yeah, looking at the previous times, Drew, there's a lot of people around the 209, 210, 211, so it could be quite tight to make this final out with the two, Mark Schranek and Dan Wallace, so it'll be interesting to see qualifiers.
Well, it's a race of two parts, isn't it? Here's Wallace almost on his own in the picture as he comes into the wall. A couple of quick strokes. Nice 202.6. Again, he saw that 203 and probably decided to pitch it in about there. He's got a 1:59 entry time for these championships. 202.66. That's the 7 heats completed. And we'll get a look at the results as the board clears. All the information has to go to the referee and clear the technical stroke rules. Wallace, Hagerwood, McComb, the 1, 2 and 3. There at 219. Of course, you go down and we start to see some sums that people will not be proud of. But that's what happens. You come and take that feedback, put it into the mix. So, unfortunately, Macbeth and Patterson in the first heat just missing out with DQs. Dan Wallace, Mark Schranek, David Masters, Stuart McIntosh, the top 4 in the medley so far. And that puts in the main contenders for qualification time for nomination to the team for the 200 individual medley.
Yeah, you're looking at a 201 for tonight's final as a target for these guys. So obviously, Dan just a second off and Mark 2 seconds off. So with a bit of rest in the afternoon and a big push in the final, then hopefully they can both make it.
Yeah, it's not a particularly tough time on this occasion. It's these guys have got it within their grasp to do it. But of course, many a slip twixt cup and lip, as we see the summers come out for the women's 400 metres freestyle. In here, you've got able-bodied, and you've also got 3 multi-class swimmers. Laura, Hope, and Rosie will be in 0, 1, 2, and then the best of the rest are coming in on the 4:39. They're all crowding on the 4:39s in entry. But a good chance to put in a personal best long course on the 400. Always find the 400 an interesting event because you're kind of losing the sprint and you're not quite at endurance. It's just an interesting balance.
It is. It's all about pacing, Drew, isn't it? I mean, these guys will be used to doing, you know, consistent pace swims in training. They'll have that drilled into them by their coaches. You know, race pace, race pace. So hopefully they can dive in and they can hit it on the first 50 and not go out too fast, not go out too slow, but hit that target time that they've been working to all year. It is all about pacing. You can't go out too fast, and you'll really pay for it in the second half.
No swimmer in lane 4, Ilse Timoney of Warrender, not out this morning. And she figured in day 1, so hopefully there's no major problems for Ilse. But across the field, remember, up there in 0, 1 and 2, you've got Laura Pilkington, West Lothian, Hope Gordon, Stirling in 1, and Rosie Bancroft, City of Glasgow in 2. There in the multi-class category. Then you've got Thornton, Shilliday in 5, Clark, Thompson, Dryborough, Miller. These are the first heat swimmers for the women 100.
Interesting to see the variation in breathing patterns here, Drew, as well. A lot of them are actually electing just to do breathing every 2 strokes, which I guess is quite unusual for the 400. You'd normally expect every 3 or 4, certainly in the early stages.
So 106 on the split for you statisticians, and the fact that we don't have a running clock yet, that's not going to happen, but 106 on the split. Can't give you every single split, but we'll try our best just to keep you in tune with the race. Remember to get those tweets coming. Hashtag SGNC 2014. It's the weekend, you haven't got work, so you've got plenty of time to send Rob and me a thought or two. Now, heading out in the first half, remember the 400, first 100, you're settling in, you've got the early nerves, you're feeling how you are, you're checking your stroke, you're reminding yourself of the pattern, and of course you're in this long course pool, so you're getting used to that. Middle 2 blocks should be real good building blocks, but the third 100 as they go through in 2:17s, that third leg is always a difficult one to maintain. And then you've got to save something for the back, as Rob was explaining, just spreading your available energy over the 400. Nice long stroke, nice steady tempos, all summers. Even at this level, looking quite good this morning.
Yeah, these two out in front are looking nice and strong. Lane 5, Ella there, she's got a nice long stroke out front, catching the water far out in front of her. She's not snatching at it. Got a nice steady leg kick, maybe 4 6-beat leg kick. So she's looking nice and strong. I think the key thing for certainly the second 200 of a 400 is to keep that strong leg kick. Come off the turns, beat the legs and get that momentum going again. So these girls are both doing that pretty well.
Yeah, to hold that kind of leg kick all the way though, you need to be in good condition down there as well as up front.
Absolutely, yeah.
So going through 3:28 from the City of Aberdeen squad. Lovely length on the stroke. Breathing every 2, but the head's not turning too far, so not disturbing the main position of the body. There she is in the green hat nearest to you, swimming at lane 7. And one of the characteristics of long course swimming, and certainly in the early heats, is that the swimmers spread out at the different levels, so you don't get a race. So you have to be in your own world. It's about you and your performance in many cases in the early heats.
Absolutely, and that's I kind of alluded to at the start of the race there, Drew. These girls should have a pace in mind. They should have it locked in after hours and hours of training, and they shouldn't be depending on a race, albeit it can help sometimes, but they should know what pace they're hitting.
So final 5 meters for Jessica, a 4:39, just on the entry time, but that might be an actual best long course swim. We can't bring that to you, but that's what often happens, is that the competitions leading into these championships, certainly early in the year, may well have been short course of the winter programme in the early part of the calendar. The event now tidied up, and a good swim, 4:39 on the button. Maybe would have liked to have been a bit faster. There wasn't a lot left at the end, although she maintained the stroke all the way through. Again, just waiting on the multi-class swimmers to complete their section. And out there in lane 1, Laura Pilkington, just digging in there, quite close to the lane line. And coming through just at the end, Hope Gordon, 19-year-old Stirling swimmer, just overtaking. So she's had a strange swim if she's able to have that amount of speed at the end. Good registering of the finish on the board. There we have Laura just getting on to her last part. Strong legs there in that section. So there's Jessica Thompson, finished her swim. But over in lane 0, we've got 16-year-old Laura Pilkington from West Lothian, entered on 8:07.08. It'd be nice if the crowd would waken up and give her a bit of support.
Yeah, she has got
Come on, ye people.
Fantastic leg kick, like you say, Drew, isn't it?
It's just
really constant all the way through.
Amazing. If they could just waken up, I'd love to just shout at them. Come on, a bit of support for Laura. Well, we're behind her, Rob, so...
Absolutely. I'm sure they're waking up. It's only 20 past 9, Drew. Give them a chance.
I'm going to sleep. I haven't seen 6 o'clock in the morning for years.
You're telling me.
Well, what can I say? When you're out, you're out. Come on, Laura, you dig in. Now remember, yeah, bit of applause, bit of cheering. You got to know who she is. Pilkington, Laura of West Lothian, 16 years of age. 8:07.08 entered time. The class is S7. Hope Gordon was S9. Rosie Bancroft, S10. The higher the number, the less the handicap. Yes, good applause. Wonderful swim. Let's look at this. Get that time on the board. 7:53.44. Good job, Laura. Nicely done. 8:07 down to 7:53. 7:50. That's excellent.
17-second PB. You cannot complain about that.
Yeah, do that, able-bodied. Come on. Thompson, Shilliday, Miller, the 1, 2, and 3 from the able-bodied event. 39, 42, 43, respectively, for those swimmers. Now, the event will pick up a little bit of pace. We have 5 heats, so heat 3 becomes a seeded heat. In the centre, Alicia McCracken of first, the 17-year-old, with a 4:31 entry. Started a bit slow this morning. Taking every stage slowly. Just puts a little bit extra pressure on the swimmers. Alicia McCracken, 4:31.9, but the outside swims are at 4:33 on the entries, so it could be a good little race. And 5, Lucy Illingworth of South Ayrshire, 16, just losing the pace of the race early on at the first 50. Apologies. That long delay on the first heat. We're at heat 2. So Connie Mackay, 19-year-old, 4:34 in the entry. Thanks, Rob. I told you day 3 was a hard day.
Everyone needs to wake up, I think. But no, I think just picking up, actually, during a previous point you made about the long course to short course conversions or vice versa, it is tricky for these swimmers. If they've been swimming, not had too many opportunities long course, albeit they do get a little bit more these days. If they spend most of their season in the short course pool and post fast times, it can sometimes be quite difficult to come into a big championship and convert that into a long course time. There's less turns, so there's therefore less non-swimming time to rest effectively. So there's a degree of extra conditioning required to hit that long course time.
Yeah, and also when you've got short course and more turns, every time you push off the wall, you're actually travelling faster than swimming speeds, so that's why the times are faster short course. And you make the point that there's more long course opportunity. Is that actually the case?
Well, I think there's been a conscious effort, certainly within Scotland, to develop the long course swimming programme. Albeit we're always going to be restricted by the number of pools we have. That's to a certain extent unavoidable. But I think certainly some of the district meets, all the national meets now are moving to long course, or have moved to long course. So that's going to be useful for the swimmers when they step up the levels and look to compete at the highest level.
Well, we know there have been a number of new facilities built over the last 5 to 8 years, and many of them have been long course. The Aberdeen facility, the latest, of course. So, yeah, good. Providing it's a convertible facility, because that's what you need. You want a big area of water, but you want to be able to use it in a multitude of ways. Back to the race in lane 9, just doing a good job on the 400. Ailey Duthie, she's had a good first couple of days. We've seen her swim well in the morning and afternoon swims. She's qualified for a whole range of events. From the city of Aberdeen, the 16-year-old entered on 4:38, just heading up the race ever so slightly. In the centre, Connie Mackay lurking. And over there in lane 2, Jennifer Henderson of East Lothian also in the mix on this, as they go through in 3:25 for the leader. So remember, we've had 4:39. We really want to try and build up to some kind of speed at the end of this swim. But you can't do it suddenly.
Ailey's time in here at 4:38 entry time. If she's turning in 3:25, she's probably looking at at worst 4:35. So likely to be a best time here, Drew.
Yeah, you can see that there's not much off the turn, just push and rise to the surface. There could be things added in there, but you need to condition them as well. Any butterfly kicks or any other extension. Strong looking swimmer, Ailey Duthie. Leg kick just a bit stronger, but it's marginal. But, well, good control over the swim as 6 swimmers for second place come into contention. So let's lane 9 then, outside Smoker, 4:34, 4:3. She must have just had that in her head. Could be a personal best time. She would feel good. And then a lot of swimmers around 4:40, 4:41. They came with 4:34s, 4:37s. So a number of maybe disappointments, but a lot of learning from the long course experience. There she is, taking it in. Duthie, Mackay and Smith, 34, 39, 40. McPhee also in 40 in the top 4 of the swims. Over the top start for now, heat 3, and Alicia McCracken. Lauren Gilks from lane 6 is withdrawn. Let's hope it's not a major problem, Lauren. Wish you well. Alicia McCracken, 4:31 entry, 4:33s on the outside. These are the first of the seeded heats, so we would like a tighter swim. We'd like a bit more racing. You can see there that Ailey in lane 9 had to do it all on her own. And you come here, and although you're getting the chance to swim a personal best, and it's certainly an individual performance, you against everything else that's working against you, coming off your training, best preparation. But at the same time, you come here to race people as well. There's not been that many top races, and that's what was good about last night's final. We had a number of people, with people challenging Rennick, with people challenging Michael Jameson. So it just made it for all the swimmers in there to have a good race.
Absolutely. I think one that springs to mind, Drew, from last night is the women's 100 breaststroke as well. What a fantastic race that was. All three girls going under the time, getting on, well, nomination for the team. And, you know, everyone, all three of them going sub 110, which turned out to be a fantastic race. You're right. I think sometimes the heats can be a little bit low key. Like you said, the crowd maybe not quite as up for it. So you're relying on any extra stimulus as much as possible to push you on. So hopefully these girls can get that.
Well, the race leader at the moment, young lady who's had a great meet so far, Jordan Sturt. Swimming in the morning, swimming at other events in the afternoon, making outside lanes in the B final. The 15-year-old looks a tidy talent for the future. You can just see that she leaves that left arm out in front. The right arm just catches up ever so slightly. And by that, I mean that normally you would see one arm forward and one arm finishing at the back. But they are just a little bit of a catch-up from Jordan. So just a nice stylistic change for her.
It's nice. It's a nice tidy stroke though, Drew, isn't it? It's nice. It's well balanced. It's maintainable. And she's certainly not snatching at the front there.
But she's out on her own in lane 8. Now look at the two swims in the centre of the pool. They're shoulder to shoulder, eyeball to eyeball, and it's just bringing them through on Jordan.
Interestingly, in lane 4, Alicia McCracken there, Drew. I know the coach quite well in first, having coached her myself before. Alicia's tried her hand at the open water as well, so I think she's been to a few foreign locations doing the 10Ks out in the open water. So she's obviously got a lot of endurance.
That'll be why she's bouncing up and down so much.
Well,
Rob.
yes, yeah, she's used to the waves, I think. But no, she's got a good pedigree in the open water.
Good going into the 300 then. 3 swimmers across the pool in a line. A fourth has joined. Lane 9. Cross Seaman of Wolverhampton. She's coming into the mix. And also over there in lane 1, moving up, Lauren Ray of Loughborough. Good race over this 50. Jordan Sturt holding for him. But it's the centre of the pool, the 431. McCracken being put under pressure by Lucy Illingworth of South Ayrshire. So good race. Bring it home. But there's the difference. You see in the centre of the pool, they see each other next door. They're breathing to both sides. They're checking each other. You've got air. Just checking to the left there. Getting a bit ragged now as they sprint, and they have no idea that out there in one, Lauren Ray is tramping in on this last 10 metres. Good race in heat 3. Oh, so close. Wonderful racing. 21 hundredths in it. The touch going to Illingworth at the end of the swim. That's what we want, and you can feel the atmosphere lifting a little bit, just getting a little bit more exciting. There you see Illingworth, 4:33.43 for the lead. It was 4:33.64 to McCracken. That tight finish. And Ray did pick up the 3rd place. 4:34. So another outing for Hannah Miley in heat 4, the second of the seeded heats. Now the qualifying time for the 400 for nomination is 4:10.38. I won't see anything like that here, but a good pace swim. Across the pool then, as the top, Snedden of first in 0, Finnan, South Lanarkshire in 1, Emily Bashforth of Tigers in 2, Lucy Campbell, Windsor in 3, Hannah Miley in 4 for Geary. The 24-year-old saw a wonderful 800 last night and back out for a 400 this morning. Aisha Thornton of Loughborough in 5, the Anglo-Scot. Rebecca Murray of first in 6, Rebecca Smith Warrender in 7, Gillian Clark East Lothian in 8, Zoe Mitchell Carnegie in 9. Now early stages, through in 61s on this heat.
Yeah, the familiar presence of Hannah Miley here, Drew, in the middle. She seems almost superhuman at times. The number of events and the number of years she's been doing this, and always at a very high standard. It's obviously just another heat swim totted up for her today.
Yeah, she wants to. She's one that does have specific targets for every swim. She knows exactly what she is trying to do, whether it's the turn skills or a pace, or just get an extra swim in preparation for something following. 400 free, not her specialist event, but with the talent of the all-rounder, she can pick and choose. Already qualified on 2 events, so you know the responsibility and expectation of selections out of the way now, and that just frees up the swimmer then to concentrate now on total preparation for the games. Although it's a nomination qualifying time, I want to remind you that all the swimmers have got to be put forward by Scottish Swimming to the Commonwealth Games, and then once they put their stamp on it, they're in the team.
Yeah, make a good point though, Drew, around the pressure that kind of is released once you get that first or the second time. There'll be swimmers coming into this weekend that had hopes and dreams of getting that in the Thursday, Friday, and have just missed out, or had a slightly poorer performance. But for those that have got it, they can relax, they can enjoy, and they can swim potentially even faster. So it is 2 very different psychologies and very different dynamics to that.
We have so far 22 nomination times, so not what they'd hoped for, but it's certainly a very promising situation at the moment. With the British Championships next week here in Tollcross, a second opportunity to qualify from this, what is called Phase 1 period, and quite a difficult situation, swimming hard and fast here, and then a week later having to do it again.
Yeah, and I think it very much depends on the swimmer sometimes as well, Drew, in terms of their physiology, their training, their background, in terms of how easily they can carry that fitness on and carry that speed on. And I think coaches have various different strategies to do that. Some will give them a shot of hard work after the weekend. Some will just continue to rest them. And it will all just depend on how well they know the swimmer, what's worked in the past. So it'll be interesting to see how the different swimmers follow on to next week's championships.
Yeah, more of that later when you heard Michael Jimison talk about swimming at the British after his swim last night. Very strong finish here. Making no mistake from the heats, taking the first place in a 4:18 with 1 heat to go. And Hannah putting in a 4:21 for second place. And again, another Anglo-Scot, Lucy Campbell from Windsor, Campbell in 3rd. Move to heat 5. Well, understandable but disappointing that Caitlin McClatchy not out for the 400, and so close to the qualifying time for the 200, and probably now at 28 years of age making judicious selection of what she'll swim and get ready for that. So we're in the final heat of the morning. The event does continue, remember. The events in the afternoon count towards this, and there are opportunities for good swims to make B. In fact, we've had one that made an A final on one occasion, so you know, a lot to play for in the afternoon, but generally the slower heats for the event held in the afternoon, the top 5 heats coming in the morning, and this gives the top swimmers maximum rest time before they come back for the 5:30 p.m. start for the finals this evening. in here. Caitlin out in 4, but it's Megan Gilchrist in 5. Megan involved in that 800 last night. And again, all Summers keeping length, keeping tempo, looking strong.
Yeah, I think Megan had a good 200 earlier on in the week, didn't she? I think traditionally or historically she's been a really good 800 swimmer, but perhaps as the years tick on, maybe concentrating more on the speed events or the shorter distance events. So obviously meeting in the middle a little bit here to see how she gets on in this 400. She started strong. You always get the impression with someone like Megan who has a stroke like that she can keep going all day. But obviously she will tire, so let's just see how the second half goes.
And as you point out, other factors come into play. You know, representing Edinburgh University, she's got other commitments, you know, and training might not be at the volume that it once was when she was a junior, you know.
Yeah, and I think certainly in females it can often be very hard to continue that, you know, like Sir Rebecca Adlington, for example. I think one of the key things that she noted why she would have had to retire was she just couldn't continue with the distance and the hard work that it requires for a female distance swimmer these days. So there is inevitably going to be a slip down to the shorter distances as like you say, Drew, other commitments come into play.
Well, from a lot of watching of swimming and thinking about it, I find you do get a mix. You'll maybe get a couple of swimmers who are older who can last through in the distance events. And with the professional training these days, full-time professional athletes, I think we're now getting the benefit of that. But you always had a young 14-year-old, 15-year-old whippersnapper who would do it. And of course, Ledecky of the United States is the prime example.
Absolutely, yeah. Ledecky obviously burst onto the scene in 2012, didn't she? Around, you know, obviously pipping Adlington to that gold medal. Rebecca picking up bronze. So you're right, Drew. There's always going to be globally a really talented, you know, 13, 14, 15-year-old that pops on the scene in these events, 400 and 800.
2:08 through the 200, 3:15 through the 300. We've seen a 4:18 in the previous heat, so Gilchrist just making sure that she wins this final heat and get herself into the middle of the pool for the finals. Going well in 3 also. Camilla Hattersley, of course, very tight to the wall. I'm not sure of that. Absolutely crunched into the wall there, squashed up. Nice long stroke, very light in the water, Camilla. You can see there, Megan a little bit lower, stronger, heavier, probably. Dangerous ground, Drew, don't go there. And very high in the water, long straight arm action. Just missing the comparison there. As Megan Gilchrist brings it home in 4:21.96. Hattersley closing at the finish to a 4:22. Abby Houston doing well from Dumfries, the 18-year-old, in 3rd place there as they clear the board. And 1, 2 and 3, 4:21 for Gilchrist. Hattersley on a 4:22 high. Houston 4:24.5. They are Thornton, Miley, Gilchrist, Hattersley, Houston, Lucy Campbell at the top of the 400. 4:18's out to 4:24. It's a 4:10 for the nomination time. A long way down. As I said, 400 IMs and 400 freestyles over the years have had big drops, but that tends to stop now because swimmers are having to swim much faster in heats and in other structures in the semi-finals to get into the final. So the difference between those heats or semi-final times and the final time is now smaller.
Yeah, I wonder, Drew, if maybe the other factor in there is the 800 last night. Obviously, noticed Camilla Hattersley had a fantastic swim in the 800, making that nomination time. And maybe there's just a few cobwebs for these girls this morning that raced the 800 last night.
Yeah, good point. Could be just a little shakeout swim and just making sure that you're in there someplace, because as Mark Foster used to say, if you're in, you can win. And he did it from lane 8 a couple of times. So we're looking now to go from the 400 freestyle to the men's 100 breaststroke. Is that of interest to you?
Absolutely. That was one of my events in my day, many years ago now, Drew. But no, I mean, the state of Scottish breaststroke, male breaststroke at the moment is quite incredible, Drew. When you look at the 50 metre event on the Thursday, and indeed the 200 last night, the speed and the endurance we've got in that event is quite incredible. We've got Ross Murdoch and Michael Jameson both at world levels now.
Yeah, and also for this event we've got 9 swimmers pegged for the 3 team places. There's 9 potential entrants to the Commonwealth Games nomination, according to inner sources at the Scottish level. But whatever it is, it's going to be exciting and tight, and they're going to have to do it. Of course, the championships here, very unusual. Heats to finals at night. You know, no semis. Don't have to roll it through a day and then. But when you do heats and semis, you're doing the same kind of 2 swims in the day. 1 in the morning, 1 in. Another chance to get in a championship swim from the man from Highland. 100 breaststroke. Six heats. This is the multi-class heat getting us going. So again, we'll see a great variation in the ability, and results need to be reordered according to the points. But some very good technique coming out here, Rob.
Yeah, and like you say, Drew, there will always be a variation. Breaststroke's one of those strokes that it can work in various different ways. If you look historically at the very flat strokes of the 70s and 80s, and then latterly we've had a much kind of higher, more powerful strokes. So you'll see a mishmash of all those, I think, in this event. I think the key thing for breaststroke for me is making sure there's no dead spots. So making sure the pull and the kick work together to keep momentum going at all points, and you're not stopping or breaking momentum at any point.
Okay, more of that later, I think, Rob. Lane 3, Conor McCormick from Kinross, 14 years of age, in on a 1:16.5. Driving for the wall, the arms very close to the body. Coming underneath, you can just see the elbows tight to the ribs. Whoa, really wants to widen that pull a little bit. But 1:16.5, smack on the entry time. Good job done. Hamilton 1:18 in second place. Now, don't forget that we have back in lane 8, Donald Gray of the best squad. 18 years of age, 2:24.53. Working hard. This is high head, high hips, so puts strain on the back. It's an arm swim. There you are, we can see it now. You can see how difficult it is for Donald. But, well, matching the rules. Now, getting into the last 10. Again, we could just do with a little bit of encouragement. I don't know where those coaches and swimmers are. Not too many parents and spectators in this morning, even although it's the weekend. But a little bit of help would go down a long way, I'm sure, with this young man. 2:27. A few seconds off his entry time. But that was a hard swim. There you are, 1:49. 1:16 at the front. The board hasn't reordered yet. There you are. That's the order of finish, but it may not be the medal order at the end of the day. I'll leave that to people who have the conversion tables times to points, so that you can compare the swims across the different classifications. Heat 2 then ready. We have 6 heats this morning. Starting off with the 110s entry in the middle of the pool. Struan Stewart, Adam Murray. Used to be the first barrier for long course 100 breaststroke, 110. Now it's totally different.
Yes. Obviously the huge barrier was the minute barrier, Drew, and that has been smashed through on regular occasions now. Doesn't seem to be much of a barrier, which is quite incredible.
Yeah, but it's amazing how even at the higher levels of swimming, it takes a long time during the event for somebody actually to get under the minute again. Once it happens, a few follow.
Yeah, it's that weird psychological barrier that I guess you get in all sports, isn't it? That you know, regardless of whether it's 10 seconds in the 100 metres track or if it's a minute for 100 breaststroke, it just needs broken and then everyone follows suit.
So, good strike out then in lane 6 in the second heat. Andrew Page driving in. Yeah, 108. So very nice swim. 110.53 entry. The 18-year-old from Loughborough gives us a 1.8 to chase. We were mentioning the 1 minute barrier and how it's slightly easier for the top men to do that. It's a 101.57 for the qualification time on this event for nomination to the Commonwealth Games. Page 108, Kerry 109, Clough 111. Heat number 3, and we move to Cameron Park in lane 4, the South Lanarkshire 17-year-old. And he is in on 108.63. He's just seen that on the board. So an immediate challenge to him.
Yeah, they know exactly what they have to do now. Albeit they'll have a personal target in mind, but they'll want to get as far up leaderboard as possible. Good strong start from lane 3 here.
This is Tobermory Mackay champion. Great name for the 16-year-old from Perth. Very intelligent young man, I'm told. And the whole family is talented in different ways. His younger brother is a concert pianist. At the age of 12, he's just been abroad to do a performance. So, talented family. A little look there, a little look to the left to see where the field is. Got to keep on your focus, Tobermory. And 2 men joining him now. Strong finish from Robert Bruce. And in lane 6, a nice finish from Daniel Richards. But very, very tight finish there. 109.10. And it was almost a good first 75. And then, you know, very slack last section for me. That's just a kind of perception I had of the event.
Yeah, breaststroke's often hard to keep it together. Long course in the last 25, Drew.
Mackay, Richardson, Watt, 1, 2 and 3 in that event, all on the 109s. Now, business end of the meet, or the event rather, 100 breaststroke, Craig Benson in 4. Benson, another one who starred last Olympics and had a good year and a follow-up, but hasn't been quite in the same media attention this year. That might be good for him, but he's got a job to do. Bright, brisk start in lane 6 from Chris Kerr, another one of the potentials on this event. But he'll be looking to make sure that he's in the final. Just adjusting as he went into that turn there, Rob. Good shout from the boy.
Yeah, you need to have a mental check at the flags just to make sure your current stroke rate and stroke length is, just in case you have to adapt to anything going into that 50 turn. So he's done that very well.
Well, this is how tight it is. We called it earlier. It's Tate, Benson and Kerr, and trying to get up with him. Ewan Ingles going very, very well. You can see the front four knowing that they've got to do it here because there's fast heats coming behind them. The touch to Benson, 102.87. It's a nice pitch swim, but he was in a fight. Benson checking it out as they stay in the water. 102, 103, 02, 103, 60, and Ingles took the third place. Tate sandwiched between. Heat number 5. Rodgie, Murdoch, Wellstead in the middle, 3, 4 and 5, where the action's supposed to come from. Ross Murdoch entered in 1:00.57, but with a British record in the 50 and a wonderful swim in the 200 last night, this is maybe a difficult event to control.
Yeah, it's going to be a cracking final tonight, I think, Drew. But just, I think Murdoch's probably just going to stretch out a little bit in the heat, just feel his way in the 100 stroke. It's a very different stroke to the 200 and the 50. You need to have a fine balance between the two, so he'll be looking to do that this morning.
The split is 29 low, and it goes to Wellstead. Last to rise into the swim. Now Murdoch pushes the accelerator pedal. Just wants to be ahead here. Just wants to be first in this heat.
Yeah, he's pulled away nicely. He's got that really good, strong, relentless type of forward motion, Ross Murdoch, and he's pulled away from the guys in the last 10.
So Murdoch, 101.54. Just checking the qualifying time. So 101.57, and that's good. Capable of much better, but doing it in the heats, a lovely rehearsal. That's what I like to see, you know, even from last night's tough excitement and adrenaline. Murdoch, Wellstead, Rodgie, the main men through 101, 102, 103. Heat 5. Final heat then. Michael Jemison out in the 100. Jamie Graham in 5, Mark Tully in 6, Nick Quinn in 3, others to watch. Nicholas Quinn had a very good 200 in the B final, wanting to prove himself. Early doors, it's a brisk start from lane 7, Mark Campbell of the city of Aberdeen. He's putting a little, a fox among the chickens, I think. 28.3 the split. Well, that's a difficult one to hold. He's deep underwater. Oh, he's had to come up almost vertically there, Rob.
Yeah, and you see Jamison's quality there. It's absolutely incredible turn. Brought back the entire field in one go. And Campbell just struggling with that early pace. 28.3 is, like you say, a lot to hold in that second 50, and he's paying for it now.
Well, if you've never been there before, it's a good practice, but you need to have the conditioning to come back. As Jemison strokes in and perfects the finish, 101.50. Just showing on the 100, he's still somebody to look out for. 102.2 to Graham, and the third place went to Mark Tully. So again, the identified athletes just doing what they are expected to do and to bring it through. Jemison 101.5, Graham 102.25, Tully 102.40. Very tight at the top. Good swim from Quinn. Campbell couldn't hold on to the fast first 50. Michael Jemison definitely hurting from last night, and he admitted that. said he was in a body bag for the last 15 metres. Nice turn of phrase, Michael. So we'll get a chance to look at what happened. Campbell, nearest us, dropped off after the firstie. Jemison there coming to the flags. He's already making the adjustment before the flags. Good call, because he only needs 2 strokes within the 5 metres to bring it home in that 101.5.
Yeah, just putting in context here, I think it was a tough swim for James. You could see he was trying to blow those cobwebs out, but he was out in 101.5 last night in his 200 drew, so obviously he's got a lot more speed to give tonight in tonight's final. Good spot finish there, looking to replicate those skills tonight.
Yeah, he also went 105 high in the heats of the 200, so he's well practiced at that, and yeah, he'll be looking to go. His entry time, of course, 1:00.06.
Be interesting to see if we can have as many sub-minute performances as possible tonight. I don't know if there's been too many of them in Scotland, Drew.
No, well, 59.89 is the Scottish record held by Jemison, so it's just under the minute. But certainly Murdoch's set himself up nicely for it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I know Benson, you know, whilst he's not had the same form as he had perhaps last year, he's got a shouting chance at that kind of performance as well. So it'll be a really tight final.
Yeah, you're getting a look at taking of the bloods. It's for drug testing, of course.
We'll be doing some lactic acid testing as well there, Drew, I think, as well, which obviously is a key component in the whole sports science element of the sport these days, supported by the Institute Network. So it's probably the last thing that a swimmer wants to do is stand and get their ear pricked and draw some blood after a hard race, but it's all for the good of them in the end.
Yep. It's a job for a vampire. We move to the next event, the women's 100 metres backstroke. There are 5 heats in this particular event. And again, in lanes 0, 1 and 2, you'll have the multi-classification athletes. Pilkington, McFarlane and McKee battling again. Now we start with a group of able-bodied athletes round about the 108. And again, you have a situation where 110 was a difficult time, long course for 100 backstroke for women. It was the first barrier that you had to break. We have a whole lot of entry times underneath that. And obviously, at the outer limit, and this afternoon you'll see that 110 will be difficult to make, but here we want to start with a nice positive swim. 33.5 for the split, so depending on her holding of technique and her background conditioning, she should be able to bring this back. In the 100, like to see anything from sort of 2.5 to 3 high in the drop off. 108.86, so good for Swanson, but you can see that the rest of the field just drifting out to above the 10s. Job done. Barry Swanson of Warner in the able-bodied. And again, the first 2 classification swims in, 129, 130. It's a very good time for McKee. 130, she's entered on 134. And again, Laura Pilkington over in lane 0. Working away, the leg kick, good.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see her. Just coming out of a race already this morning and back in there.
400 free.
400 free, you know, and she had just a strong leg kick in that one as well, Drew, so really impressive.
It's good. See there, she's trying to get maximum reach on those arms. Nice short stroke, of course, and keeping the rhythm. Sees the flags. Now she'll know where she is. Hopefully she can just keep it going. Might not be an arm touch. Might just be a crash into the... Oh, well, there we go. Time for Laura Pilkington, 2:26. It's well outside the entry time, but after a 400, that's still an amazing effort. Heat 1 then, completed in moving to heat 2 of the 5 heats, 100 backstroke. Erin Holmes of South Lanarkshire, the 15-year-old, in with a 107.4. The field on 7 and 8s in this next swim. Because of the multi-classification athletes, the other athletes able to clear the pool. Now you mentioned earlier, Rob, about when we saw the blood being taken. Obviously, after top-level swims at major meets, they do take blood for drug tests. Here, it's more about the lactate. And is there still a heavy reliance on the feedback from lactate testing?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the Institute network, as it is today, there's a lot of sports science support at the moment, Drew, which helps the swimmers. So what will normally happen is they'll take some lactic acid samples immediately after the race, take your lactate levels and compare that with the kind of training levels, understand how your body's responding to the speed at which you're swimming, the period of time in which you're swimming, but also crucially they'll take that sample and make sure you're doing the appropriate swim down, and perhaps take a further lactic acid sample after swim down to make sure you've flushed out all that acid.
Yeah, what we're referring to, of course, is the build-up of lactic acid in any physical activity, and a measurement of that gives an idea of whether you've been swimming at your peak or whether you're under illness, and also the recovery. So, sports science backing up here at the National Championships and adding to the huge database of knowledge. Heat 2, Erin Holmes with a 107.5. Caven's close in 107.8, and MacArthur out at 109, and again 10s and 11s. I did say that 110 is still a difficult barrier. Heat 3. Now there are 3 or 4 swimmers who were targeted for the 100 back in the Commonwealth Games team, and the first of these, Kathleen Dawson, the Anglo-Scot from Warrington, in lane 4 for the next heat. We've got Alex Cunningham up in 0. She's had a busy day. Ailey Duthie back in the water after the 400. Grant in 2. Avramova of 3, the Ealing swimmer who loves these championships. Just give you the start. Dawson in 4 with a 101.97 entry. Kirsty Simpson of Carnegie, Dawson of Stirling, Danielle Hill of Ulster, Lisa Carey, South Lanarkshire, and Katinka Merchant of Stirling.
Good high tempo in lane 4 here to start with, Drew. Try to hold that all the way into the turn. Bouncing a little bit, but her head's nice and still, so she shouldn't be wasting too much energy throughout that stroke. Good strong turn. And a good 10, 11 metres off the wall, which is impressive. Obviously you can take the full 15 metres. Often the early heats they wouldn't perhaps do that, but certainly at a global standard they would always take that 15 metres. But she's holding that well.
Avramova coming back with a very strong last 15, driving through to take the victory. The winner, 103.07. The split time was 30 points, so it just shows how difficult it is to keep that second half nice and strong. Of course, you've got to take into account the extra from the start. Second half's never going to be the same, but you want to get that drop off right down. 103.07 to Avramova. Dawson 103.58, Simpson 104, and Dawson on 104. So that's the early times from the first of the seeded heats. Here, look out for, in lane 5, we've got Megan Briggs, the 17-year-old Warrender backstroker. In 4 will be Kimberly Boyce. Remember, the Viamsor Belgian group. They cannot go into the A final, but they'll want a second swim. And to swim against them is a great experience because, you know, Boyce, European medalist, one of the top swimmers in Belgium. So it's good experience for the national swimmers here. You can see even at this level how difficult it is to get over the water in that back crawl start. A loud splash this morning as some hips and back strike the water.
Yeah, you do need a degree of power to get up and over and into the water, and a kind of arcing motion there. Certainly the bigger guys, top class guys, will be able to do that, but it is a tough skill to master when you haven't got that strength in your legs.
So 31.08, slightly slower than the previous heat for Boyce. Nice underwater in 5 from Briggs. Also swimming well in 6, Emma Smith from Birmingham, the Anglo-Scot. And over in lane 2, Chelsea Lawson of Carnegie. A wonderful swim last night. Boyce easing up a little bit as she goes for the wall. Just checking those flags. And you want to be absolutely spot on for the finish. That can make a big difference in a backstroke finish when it's tight across the field. Boyce 104, Briggs out to 5, Smith out to 5, Wilson, Lawson also on the 5. So crowding in for counting for the outside lanes for the final. (101.62) is the nomination qualifying time that's been set. One heat to go. The favourite for this event, Charlotte McKenzie, of first out.
Yeah, Charlotte had an unfortunate last-minute injury so had to withdraw from the championship, Drew, which is unfortunate for her.
Some of the younger swimmers and slight of build getting up there high and managing to get over the water. So with Charlotte missing, wish her well. Lucy Hope in 5, swimmer to watch in this one. 17-year-old, 102.08 entry. Very close to the qualifying time.
Yeah, she's really creating a lot of power underneath in that pool, Drew, isn't she? I mean, there's not much of her, but you can see when she sticks her hand up over her head, she's really pulling that water back, gripping it very, very well.
Yeah, very compact. Good strength to power. Over in 2 with a very fast start. The 15-year-old Karen Reid just managing to bring it back a little bit, but it's all about Hope. And everybody looking to see what kind of time. Drifting across to the left-hand side of the lane for her. Oh, 103 flat. Well, don't usually see that indoors, but it's always a problem for the backstroker, is to stay in the centre of the lane. Just drifted across, and that certainly would have taken her attention off that final 5. Lucy Hope, 103. Karen Reid, 104.69 for the second place, and the second Belgium, Maika, 105.5. So 105 seems to be the limit. And the summary, Hope at top with 103. Crowding on 3s and 4s. and out to 105 for the 10th place swim, but of course the Belgian can't go to the final. So it allows another place forward as they work through the summary of the whole event. Lucy Hope then of Warner, heading up the 100 backstroke, and a lot just riding on now the final. It's a big drop from 103 to 101 in the backstroke. Just wonder if they've given themselves the best chance.
Yeah, they have got quite a bit to do tonight. They've left themselves, well, upwards of a second and a half, Drew, to drop for that 101.5. So hopefully good thorough swim down, bit of rest this afternoon, and a good warm-up, and they'll be up for it. And just the point you mentioned there about the point of reference on the ceiling, that was quite an interesting one. It is rather distracting when there's not a straight point of reference. Obviously we've got the beams up here in Tollcross, which helps a little bit, but if you're outdoors you can be all over the place.
Could do with a little bit more support even for these heats. And 1:59.8 for the next event is the qualifying time. The men's 200 metres backstroke. Again, a couple of athletes been pegged for this. Ryan Bennett, Craig McNally, but there's always space for more. Sub 2 minute, quite a difficult ask in the 200 backstroke for men. We have the 5 heats. No multi-classification event, so we're straight into the middle of the event because we have heats this afternoon, another 4 or 5 heats there who have entered and managed to qualify for the championships. So although we have heats 1 to 5, this is really the 5th lot of swimmers who are starting us off. Daniel McGregor in 4 for Warner at 2:17. And they're all crowding around the 2:17s, 2:19s. So you can expect that, hopefully a bit better. And again, hopefully a good race. 200 backstroke. The men's event from World right down has dramatically improved on the 200 backstroke. Can't say the same for women, and we didn't say the same for women when it came out the other day. It's an event that could be targeted for an up-and-coming swimmer, but for the men, quite different. And how do you like your swimmers to approach this, Rob?
Well, backstroke's always a kind of event, Drew, where I think lends itself to a kind of more even split approach. So, you know, if you're looking at these guys looking at a 2:17, you're probably looking at a kind of 1:07 out and 1:10 back. Not like breaststroke where there's traditionally a larger drop-off. So just controlled, high-tempo stroke in the first 100. Good skills around the wall. You know, nice underwater phases, 10-15 metres, and then really just put the burners on off that 100 turns. Let's see how that goes.
106s, 107s as predicted. Just let me work you a little harder here, just for some of our lay people who have, you know, locked in. I know that most of the people watching and listening are swimming fanatics and supporters, but there are obviously parents, family, outsiders who are picking this up. I certainly know that from contact from friends. So when you say skills about the walls, can you unpack that for us?
Yeah, so what you've got, obviously you've got your backstroke flags. So the swimmers, when they approach the backstroke flags, they'll be counting their strokes into the wall, and they'll have a point of reference. So once they go underneath the flags, they'll know how many strokes it takes to flip over and approach the turn. So that whole process has to be very well practiced. And when they do have 3, 4, 5 strokes after the flags, they're going to have to roll over and immediately get into the turn. And it's doing that all very quickly is the key.
Good. Thank you for that. Nice race at the finish. Finlay Deans, Daniel McGregor, Henry McKenzie battling it out. Now, who's on stroke? Well, I wouldn't give them a photograph of their finish, that's for sure. McKenzie, 2:15.68. Good time for him. But those skills that Rob was mentioning certainly needing a bit of polish, a bit of attention. 2:15, board cleared, everybody through. 2:15.6 to 2:15.8 at the front. A 2:16.4 for third place. Scots out at 2:17, and the rest of the field drifting off their entry times. Heat number 2 sees Cameron Nelson in 4 for Carnegie. We're down to 2:13.9 very quickly in the second of the 5 heats this morning. Now, even although we've got teenagers in here, these young athlete, we are seeing much better starts over the water. Very strong, powerful athletes at this stage. The bright pink hat in 6 that's taking the lead, Alex McCallum of Loughborough, not hanging about. Now, underwater, 3 butterfly kicks, break into the backstroke, surface. Need a good link there, that breakout, you need a good link between the underwater and that first pull needs to be effective. So yesterday somebody in the backstroke pool when he was 2 feet underwater, just a waste of a stroke and then puts you in a difficult place.
Yeah, it can essentially mean a dead end, a dead stop in the water, Drew, if you don't time that breakout properly.
Well, Alex McCallum, Loughborough 102.7 split. And still pouring it on. This is a good swim from this level. Entered on 2:14 in the centre. Cameron Nelson at 2:13.9, just starting to make a little bit of hit on the rest of the field. Going well in 0, Lambert of Warrender and Thompson in 1 for East Lothian, also in the mix, but out on his own, Alex McCallum. Now, getting a little bit ragged at the end because there's a lot of speed, a lot of hard swimming at the front end of this. The hips are lower, the legs are lower, the stroke's not so smooth from McCallum. You can see that. You can actually, in the pool here, you can hear him hit the water on the entry instead of place his hand in there. Just drifting a little bit to the right-hand side. You can see how short the stroke is now. He's under the flags. Let's see what the finish is like. Well, it's the right time to go for it. But absolutely no speed and power, but held on for a 2:10. A 2:14 heat, 2:10. So we come to the first of the seeded heats. In here, Charlie Balderson swam well yesterday, the 21-year-old from Stirling, and he's in on a 2:03. Next time's a 2:04 high, and then you're out to 6s because in the seeding, the Arrowhead formation takes the times from the lane 4 out to lane 0. And in the swim, normally you get an Arrowhead formation, and that's how the seeding is done. Top time goes to lane 4 in heat 5, the next in lane 4, heat 4, and so on, so that you get a circle pattern and it just spreads to the outside. We are seeing much better starts over the water. Very strong, powerful athletes at this stage. So good drive off the wall and a nice, powerful start there. So we've asked you to give us your thoughts, give us your comments, and we'll see if Rob has found any interesting tweets.
Yeah, we've got some activity on Twitter, Drew. So Rebecca White at Baxter1234 asks, can we buy tickets for this evening's session at the pool? Well, Rebecca, of course you can. You just go on the Scottish Swimming website and all the information will be there. So just log on to there and you will be shown what to do. We've got another one At David O'Brien, good to hear Big Rob Lee commentating. Get him signed up for Eurosport. Well, I'll leave that up to you, Drew.
The jury's out, Rob. Early days. Well, back to the race. And you can see that Ferguson, 102.52 on the split. Very similar split to the previous heat. Now let's see what the back half is like, because in that swim, if you remember, a very fast time, first 3 quarters. And now you can see there in 4, Charlie Balderson just stretching it a little bit. Again, drifting to the lane rope, very slow into the wall. Nice. I notice all the Stirling Summers are well coached in the use of the underwater. Now picking it up. You can just see that stroke rate pick up. It's almost like a signal that you're on the last 50. Relief coming home, 15 to go. It's Balderson's swim. 2:03 the entry time, just be outside that. Not a bad finish, but chance to go 2:03 high, 2:04, but just eased back a little bit. 2:05.54 the final time. Well controlled by Balderson, and a nice victory that sets him in place. 2:05 from the first of the seeded heats. But it gives a little bit of an opportunity for those who are following. Ryan Bennett in the next heat entered on 1:58.8. So well within the nomination time. So I wonder how he'll pitch it. My thoughts are for a strong rehearsal. When you've only got heats and finals, you want to have a strong rehearsal in the heats. Make it a little bit easier to repeat it in the final. But there are many ways of approaching a sporting task and challenge such as we have here. Men's 200 back, heat number 4. 2:05 leading the event. Bennett in 4, Barrett in 3, Ross McCafferty of Glasgow in 5.
I think you're right, Drew. I think you got to position yourself psychologically in the heats and actually make sure that when you move into that final, if you do make the final, you've had a good, strong grounding in the heats, and you have, you know, some mistakes to learn from, but you know it's in the bag. If you go too easy in the heats, sometimes you can leave yourself wondering what you've got left for the final.
Yes, and add to that, my thinking is based on the fact it's physiological. You know, I think if you want your body to know what it's like to go a 1:59.8, then you need to tell it. You need to take it there sometime, and you just can't leave it all in the box and then pull it out, you know, on the magic night. That doesn't happen. That's, to me, what happened in the Olympics. You know, they didn't come out. They had their trials early. They had no racing. So they had no experience of swimming a personal best time.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think the quicker the quicker the kind of culture changes in terms of fast heat swims, the better. Because ultimately, like you say, when you get to these big world-class events like Olympics, World Championships, European Championships, you are up against it to make a final.
And as a swimmer, you must realise that you've done a taper for this. You've done a preparation. So you've rested, you've specialised, you've got here. And to come off that and swim slow in the heats, even although you're good, I can't figure that out myself.
Yeah, and you know, it all comes down to confidence and where you are in the pecking order. But you're right, I think it's probably they owe it to themselves to really push themselves and position themselves well for that final. And it looks like Ryan's doing that today.
Looks like it. 15 to go. Nice strong performance. He's low in the water, but the legs are kicking powerfully. Nice rhythm as he comes in, and a good spotted finish. 2:00.91. For me, that's a great job. Off of 1:58.8 best to come in and do 2 minutes. When you know that the 1:59.8 is the qualifying time, you know you're under pressure from Craig McNally and possibly Balderson. To me, that's a good job. But it's only one man's view. Here we have The board cleared. Everybody through. Callum Shaw didn't swim, unfortunately. And Bennett 2:00. McCafferty out at 6 for second, and Barrett 2:07 for third place. Then you're out to the 11s and 12s and worse. So.
Yeah, Ryan just missed the 100 backstroke last night, so he'll be looking to make amends tonight and try and get in that 159.8.
Heat number 5. Solomon Butt, the Scottish junior star, coming to the senior ranks slowly. Craig McNally in 4. Fraser Spooner of West Lothian, another 2:05 man. Another Miley in the field in lane 6. Well, that's the problem. If you go too high, then all the weight's on your feet and you just slip down. Not the best of starts from lane 9, but a good example of what you have to do. It's partly lifting up, but partly leaning back, because it's backwards you have to go. If all the force of your body weight is going down, then the feet just slip. Although there's a painting on the pads of an anti-slip surface, it's not perfect. As they go through in 28.8, McNally strong up the first 50.
Yeah, and McNally, obviously another person based out in the States in the collegiate system there, I believe, Drew. And coming back for these championships, he had a really good last couple of years. He's been fantastic, posting that 155 best, right up there in world-class standards. So I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how he takes this morning swim, if he goes for it. It looks like he's 28.8, looks like he's going for it.
59.5, well, he's a mercurial athlete. Quite often he leaves it to the very end and then has this fantastic sprint at the back. Maybe the experience and of different coaches and age and wisdom will have applied to him. But he certainly had a great swim in Barcelona. I was at poolside for that 155 in the final, and good to see the young Scot coming through.
He seems to have this ability to pick up his stroke rate as well when he's in a race, so maybe watch for that later on tonight.
130 at the turn, others coming through in 135s. The best of the rest across in lane 2. Craig McLean, lane 6. Alistair Miley of Geary, but now McNally starting to slip a little bit of water on the right hand side. You can see a white bubble there. Maybe you can't, but certainly we can. Out to 2:02. So 59 out to 2:02. But good practice, you see, of a key part of the race is getting the first split right. So Craig McNally, and there's the 1, 2 and 3, 2:02. Miley on 2:07 for the second place. McLean 2:08.82. 100 back complete. You get a look at hopefully a quick look at the summary, and just see how that comes through. Board cleared. So 2:00, then a 2, a 5, a 6, and then 7s and 8s there at the outside. So really only the couple of swimmers who have set themselves up and who are identified as potential Commonwealth Games team members. 1:59.80 is the qualifying time. They need to do that and to be in the top 3 in the A final. So we'll get a little look at Craig McNally. What do you say about this?
Yeah, like I said, he's got this ability to keep his stroke rate up at all times, and especially in the last 50 when he's in a race. He looks like he's maybe practicing that for tonight's, you know, perhaps had a conversation with his coach before they went in and said, look, let's vary that stroke rate in that last 50. Really strong finish.
So the athletes having to accommodate the change for the games organisation. They're all going to be on that far side. Extra seating, of course, has gone in. And we know it's going to be packed. The ticket sales are absolutely excellent. There was talk that at the what you're seeing is the turn end, that they were going to remove the curtaining and to put in an extra, I think it was 1,000 seats. And they might yet do that, even under pressure from British champs through to games, because of the demand for tickets. And of course, this wonderful arena, when it is full, it's got a tremendous atmosphere. And hopefully at the weekend, Saturday night finals, well, we already had a tweet saying, can I get a ticket? Not only can you get a ticket, but, you know, come along. We'll welcome you.
Yeah, and we've got a few more tweets through. Just quickly, we've got Coach Andrew Clark at Swim with Andrew. They're saying that he's about to travel down to Tollcross to watch the real thing. Can't wait. Spent all morning watching the live stream. Now to the real thing. So get online and get your tickets.
This is the women's 200 breaststroke. Lane 4, Christopherson, South Aberdeen, 17-year-old. Starting us off with a 2:50 entry time. And let's see how this translates after a hard winter programme and fun short course swims in the nationals and early meets. Now the business of long course swimming. Let's see how that converts.
It's a bit of a lung buster, this event. I think traditionally, Drew, the you know, the strong kick required throughout the four lengths of the 50-metre pool, the big strong pullouts. It does hit the body pretty hard, and I think if
say that with feeling, Rob.
I think if you were to ask me what was my least favourite event over the course of the years, this was perhaps one of the top of the list. Not that I didn't enjoy, you know, the swimming in general, but this was a tough event.
Yeah, and that's what made last night just so special, you know, to get another crop of breaststrokers in the history and tradition of A, Scottish breaststroke, B, the 200, and C, a tough event.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, these guys, and I think, you know, spoke to a few people. You look at the strength and depth of that 200 breaststroke for men last night. It was quite incredible. 2:14 coming fifth and not getting a mention, which is unheard of in Scottish swimming.
Well, here we have the start of the 200 breaststroke. 5 heats this morning. In 3, a bright start from Anne Hutchison, all the way down from Lerwick, the 15-year-old. She had a very interesting 50. A lot of up and down action in that stroke, though. It's a little waste of the energy that she's producing.
Yeah, there seems to be just a slight dead spot when she's lifting her head up there before she pushes forward with her arms and then supports that with a kick. So it's all about joining those elements up together and keeping that momentum going. It's a tough skill. You know, some breaststrokers are born and some are made, but most are born, Drew. You often find the...
Yeah, and they're all nutters. Can I tell you that now, just to get it out of the way? They're all weird, wonderful people, but they're nutters. Crazy people, breaststrokers.
Yeah, there is maybe...
well known in the sport.
An eccentricity with some of the...
Oh, eccentricity, good.
That's maybe the kinder way of putting it, Drew.
Slightly built and very gymnastic and dynamic, but a lot of up and down movement there. That could be converted. She might like to try just pushing it forward a little bit in the head and shoulders. That pull back lifts out the water. You want to try and limit that a little bit. 2:49.6 though. We came in with a 2:50. So good job. A long way to come to pick up a disappointment, but she's had a good meet so far. Hutchison 2:49, Jordan Sturt again 2:51, a good swim. Heather Lee's 2:51, the best of the first heat. Move to heat 2 in Olivia Jackson, South Lanarkshire. in the pole position, 2:46. Times on the outside, 2:49. You can just see how hard it was to break the 2:50. Kirsty Hunter for East Lothian in 3, Olivia Jackson in 4, Connie Mackay ran 96 in 5, the expected best. But again, at this stage in the event and the level, anyone can come through. And that's Lucy Walkup of Carnegie, just making a little bit of a break, but the stroke's quite short. For the 200 breaststroke, you'd like to get a little bit more length, because if you're that short, you're going to do more strokes. If you do more strokes over 200 metres, then you get more tired.
Yeah, it's about making full advantage, or taking full advantage of that leg kick as well, Drew. Sometimes people snatch at the front of the stroke before they've really capitalised on that glide that the kick gives you. So that's key, certainly in a 200 breaststroke long course where you're trying to conserve a bit of energy for that second half. Yeah,
and it's a good point for recreational swimmers to take forward, is that when you do make the effort of kicking, just wait a little bit and just try and find the point where the forward momentum starts to die, and then pick it up on the hands. Going through then. In lane 9, McQuaid has picked up the lead, 1:20.4, the same split time for the previous heat. Now we look at the back half. McQuaid in 9 from Hatfield, the 16-year-old Anglo-Scot. Kate McQuaid. Hatfield, of course. Coach now Ian Wright, who was at the Stirling ITC for several years, and speaking to him yesterday, he's very happy with the position and the change, but the usual club problems, high expectations, short-term planning. So, but he's happy there, and I think he's got 4 Anglo-Scots up with him this weekend. So the Hatfield swimmer, Kate McQuaid, 2:49 entry, just starting to tighten up a little bit now. Coming through in the field, the expected leader, not quite there yet, as in lane 2 coming through, Laura Doughty with a stronger finish.
Yeah, Laura's got that forward momentum, got that glide, and really pushing her head down at the end of every stroke, and I think that's worked for her in this last 50 and 75.
Dundee with a new facility, of course, of late, and they're starting now to produce lots and lots of young age groupers. I heard that they were filling the top 3 spots in an upcoming age group meet. So it's just early days off this new facility, as we see the result of Doughty is 2:49.03. A late finish next door to her. Breaststroke checked. The board cleared. Doughty 2:49. Jackson was on a 2:50, as was McQuaid at the end, 2:50.56. Mackay held it into the 50, but again, difficult to get the long course conversion of the short course swims. 5 heats, so heat 3 sees Catherine Johnson of Edinburgh University in 4.
Of course, Catherine was a part of that wonderful 100 breaststroke final last night. So there might be a few cobwebs, but she probably just has to make sure she controls it properly in this first 100. She's obviously got a lot of natural speed, being a good 50 and 100 metre swimmer. Just control it in the heats, make sure she swims it intelligently and comes back strong.
Yeah, a good point that she's had to learn how to come to the 200, I think, because natural sprinter, and to control the wonderful skill and technique that she has. Coming off the wall in 5, Rachel O'Donnell, who's had a fantastic meet so far. The Carnegie 17-year-old swam with Hannah in the early part of the medley. Very strong on the fly back, and then a little bit drifting on the breaststroke to Miley's breaststroke, but came back on the freestyle. So O'Donnell here to swim fast and attacking this turn. Good plant on the wall. 1:13.4 the split. Remember, we were at 1:20s in the previous heats, and that just shows the difference between the seeded and top performers and the rest of the event. It gives you a comparison.
Yeah, I see Catherine's maybe winding it up slightly now, bringing back Rachel in this third 50. See she's snatching really strong at the front of her stroke, and just picking up that rate. Our stroke rate, the number of strokes, or how quickly she was stroking in the first 100, was quite slow, in fact, and I think she's picking that up now and bringing it back.
Also watch for the second Hatfield summer, Katie Armitage, the 17-year-old. She's had very good swims in the 100 final. Obviously a talent and a future prospect as Johnson just takes over the lead, just picks it up nicely. And the early speed of Rachel O'Donnell maybe paying a little bit. She's having to pay the cost of that, unable to respond. Nice pitch and pacing from Catherine Johnson on the 200. Entered on a 2:30. 2:33.83. Very comfortable for the first sort of 125. So a lot more to come. 2:30.08 for the qualifying time for nomination. And I think that's, yeah, that's a good sum for that kind of time. You can see there, not a lot of puffing and panting, so quick recovery. 2:33.83 then, confirming Johnson's victory. O'Donnell 2:35, Armitage coming home to 2:36. And that's heat 3 with 2 to come. No Summer in lane 6. Corey Scott is out, and Catherine Ross in 8 is out.
We just got a tweet through there. Peter Ferguson at Fergus PE. All breaststrokers are nutters. Couldn't agree more. There we go, Drew. So we've got some support on that one.
Well, 2 votes. I don't think I'll swing it. Now here we have the Viamp swimmer Kim Janssens. Very strong, powerful athlete in the centre of the pool. It's the experienced Kerry Buchan, now at the University of Stirling. The 26-year-old as a 2:29.67. Buchan, a great servant to Scottish swimming. My memory of her is a sort of patchy career. She's had one or two very, very good swims, but, you know, then disappeared for a little while.
Yeah, Kerry was part of the Melbourne team. In fact, I was out there with in 2006, and that was kind of the time when she kind of properly broke on the scene, and she was breaking Scottish records left, right, and centre. And she has had ups and downs since that point. But like you say, a really good servant to Scottish swimming. Yeah,
couldn't agree more. Emily Jones is in 3 for Edinburgh University, and again another one identified and pegged as a possibility here. 2:33 her entry time, so she needs to, I think, really get an easy 2:33, 2:34 here this morning. Taking over on the third 50. Kerry Buchan still keeping it long and strong. Kim Janssens, you can see the tanned figure there, back from the Tenerife training camp. Turning at the last 50 in 1:54.8. Well, it's a hard ask. Now we're getting a little pick up as Buchan just covers Jones. It's Jones to lose, but she won't. There's just not enough water. Good battle over there in lanes 1 and 2. Ruth Gordon, Alice Tennant. Tennant, the Swansea-based Anglo-Scot, working with the Bud McAllister group there. As Jones brings it home. Easy finish. Out to 2:35.5. Well, off a 2:33, that's okay, but 2:30 qualifying time. Well, that's another question altogether. as the event closes this morning with that lane 9, Megan Fell, 2:50 time. 2:50, starter in heat 1. Jones at 2:35, Buchanan 2:37. Jansen's not a final, 2:38, might be a B final, of course, if she decides to swim. Robinson for the Isle of Man in the 5th place. Fifth and final heat. Emma Crawford, East Lothian. Ruth Gordon. Alice Tennant coming in, the Anglo-Scot. Hayley Monteith. Hannah Miley, another outing. Olivia White for Edinburgh University. Emma Chittleborough. Warned her. Maybe something from her at 2:33. Erin Robertson, South Ayrshire. Kimberly Mackay warned her. Shona Mackie of West Lothian.
Yeah, Hannah's obviously, over the course of the few years she's been focusing on IM, has developed her breaststroke again and again, and it's probably arguably one of her best strokes now, Drew. And the whole reason she enters the 200 breaststroke like she is now is really for that reason, to really develop her IM.
Yeah, but in the games, the 400 IM is day 1, so and that's our real focus, isn't it? That's a real opportunity.
Yeah, that day 1 of those games is going to be fantastic. We've got Hannah in the 400. I believe we've also got the men's 200 breaststroke that day as well. So that could be a real kickstart to the games for Scotland.
Yeah, it was in the past. So if the 400 AM is day 1 and she does well, then if she's got other events backing up and being that all-round talent, it's a model lesson. Not the tallest of swimmers, but uses everything. The technique, the skill, timing, everything there for others to see and learn from. Going well, coming through in lane 6. Just watch that, Chittleborough from Warrender. Early to rise in that.
Yeah, like I said at the start of this event, it is a lung buster, Drew, so the third turn is always tough mental battle to keep under and do the full pull out. Sometimes you lose that battle. But Hannah Miley really pulling away now, showing her conditioning, years and years of conditioning.
Just maintaining that stroke technique, coming hard at her though. Olivia White from Edinburgh, Emma Chittleborough from Warrender. They're staying with the Scottish star and just slotting in a nice 2:33.9 and 2:35, 2:34 for the other places. Not been pitched well for them. It's good swims. So the women's 200 breaststroke, you can see there, Shona Mackie, 2:52.66 for the 10th place in that final heat. The swimmers will be clearing the pool as we move to the 50-metre events. And that'll bring a little spark to the morning, waking people up, seeing the 50s. It's all cleared now as Hannah's 2:33 is confirmed. Chittleborough in 2nd place with a 34.7. I think that's quite a good swim. White on 2:35.3. Now that's the 5th heat. The summary: Johnson, Miley, Chittleborough, White, Jones, O'Donnell, Armitage, Buchan, all safely through to the final. And all with some with a slight outside chance of the 2:30, and others, well, it's just there for the taking if they can do it in the final. Again, setting up for a nice, wonderful, exciting race this evening.
Yeah, Drew, we're continuing to get some good tweets in from various groups around the country and individuals. Again, Peter Ferguson says, great to see at Swim Ulster well represented at Scottish Swim Nationals. Please wish Conor Ferguson, 14-year-old, good luck for his 200 back final. So good luck, Conor. We've also got a message from North Ayrshire. A great day 2 at SGNC 214. Bring on day 3. North Ayrshire swimmers should be proud of their achievements and keep up the hard work. So absolutely right. So keep going, North Ayrshire. And we've got another tweet, last tweet here. Ailsa Dominic at Ailsa Dom. Time to get ready to go to SGNC 214. Good luck, Jamie, Dominic and Elaine Sherwood. Hashtag fast swimming. So good luck, Jamie and Elaine.
There for you, a reminder of hashtag SGNC 2014. Tweets and pictures, remember, if you're swimming or in a swimming environment, take a picture. There's Hannah just going to the blood drop, taken from the earlobe.
Yeah, someone like Hannah, you would probably expect to have quite a low lactate, Drew. I mean, with the years and years of conditioning, she'll be pushing that lactate down, or her body's capacity to deal with that. So that's probably what we would expect if we were to get the results there, whilst a kind of larger male sprint swimmer, for example, would have a higher lactate because they're producing more lactic acid through sprint events. So interesting kind of variation there.
And we need to tell people who are listening who don't know that the measurement is millimoles per litre, a very small amount per litre, and a good score, a high score would be?
Yeah, so sorry, but just put that into context. So someone like Hannah might be under 10 after a 200 breaststroke. You know, resting millimoles will be obviously below 1 or 2, and if your body can deal with the lactic acid and flush it out during the race and only create maybe up to 10, then you're going to do well and you're going to be able to continue swimming. A larger, more muscular male might be up towards 20 millimoles. So that's the kind of difference you're looking at.
And that's what they found about a lot of the top swimmers, is that they have the ability to metabolize very quickly, both in the race and in recovery. As we come to the 50 meters freestyle. This is for men, and the first event is multi-classification. Athletes ready. .50 freestyle then. Adam Donaghy, South Lanark. Andrew Mullen, Wren 96. Craig Smith, Fife Performance. Lachlan Macbeth out again for Highland, and Neil Howie of East Lothian. They swim together, they compete against each other, and then the classification tables are used to calculate the points and the final position. But look at the aggression, the effort, the commitment for this 50 freestyle. 33.42 for Craig Smith. He's in a 36.44. Massive improvement over 50. He's just outside the record, and what a wonderful swim. 37.49. 34.16 for Howie. Macbeth a 34.8. And Donaghy was in 40.3. Super swim. Entered on 43.2. So I think a lot of PBs in there, and just outside the record for Smith. Okay, we have 7 heats this morning. Heat 2 readying, 50 freestyle. A quick coverage of what's necessary here, Rob.
Yeah, so it's crucial is a good start on this, Drew. So push off the block. You see you've got those pads in the back of the block nowadays to actually get a real strong push. Good entry in, a few flutters in the butterfly kick. Get up and strong swim.
Well, lane 0. So still on multi-classification, but all the principles still apply. You can see at the head of the race, Clegg and Rodgie, they've battled before. Here they battle again. Clegg from that wonderful sporting family, East Lothian, 25.2. Head down, no breathing into the wall, 25.87. Just a flurry there. Maybe a little bit too fast. You know, you've still got to hold the water. You've still got to apply the technique. You can't just swim, turn the arms over as fast as possible. It doesn't work like that. So classifications from S9 out to S14 in that swim. It's all been cleared. 28-9. Fraser Kane, again another record. That's about the third record or fourth record of his national championship. So great swim, Fraser. Well done. Heat 3. Dale Wellstead of Warrender, 18 years of age, 25 flat entry. Good discipline hold at the start. Powerful dive. Maybe a couple of fly kicks. Good breakout. Watch the breathing pattern. 25 all in a line.
Yeah, minimal breathing required here, Drew. It's 50 metres, 25 seconds of work. Keep the momentum and the speed going by keeping your head down in the water.
Lane 6, Stephen Rennick, isn't it? 24.1 from a 25.08 entry. Good job.
That's an absolutely tremendous drop over a 50 metres. You normally get tenths at a time, not seconds at a time.
Rennick 24, Brand 24.6, Wellstead 24.72. The top 5 times in 24s, crowding there already. Heat number 4. A bank of 24 points. If they're all on the mark, the 100 separate them. 15-year-old Craig McLean in 4 for Carnegie. The man with the fastest time, 24.6. A good start from lane 9, Andrew McGovern. He swam well yesterday. He's on form, just tying up slightly. Now McLean comes through in the middle. Lovely length, but watch out for lane 9 finish. McGovern, 24.03. In 1, very low, 24.03. Entered on 24.98. McGovern was certainly in form yesterday with his medal. And here he is back in the 50. McGovern 24.03, Lamb on 24.37, McLean 24.42. More 24s in the field as we move to heat number 5. Maybe down at 23s. Richard Schaefer's a man expected to go for the 22.58 tonight, but has to do a good job here. In 3, Jimmy Graham is out of this 50.
Yeah, Richard Schaefer's affectionately known as Rich the Twitch, Drew. He's obviously got a lot of fast twitch fibres in there, got a lot of speed in the pool, and obviously one of the top talents in Scottish sprinting. Looks to be going for it this morning, Drew. 22.57 entry time, 22.74. Yeah, that's not a bad time at all in the morning.
Good practice, good rehearsal. But 22.56 is lifetime best, and entry time is underneath, obviously, the qualifying time for nomination. Well, I'm not sure you can play around with a 50 freestyle when it's so tight. Schaefer's, Morgan and Thompson, the 1, 2 and 3. 22 and 23 and 23. Heat 6, remember 5, 6, 7 are seeded. This is Peter Timmers of Yamps in 4. Watch this man go.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, they're in tough training cycle at the moment, Drew, how much speed this man actually has.
Yeah, very slow on the blocks. That's the tiredness and affecting the reaction. Going well over in 0, Joss Booth, as he did in the butterfly. Booth challenging the sprint freestylers, but the touch goes in the middle to Jack Thorpe. 23.45. Thorpe and Edinburgh University sprint program again proving just to be tough to beat, especially at the finish. Good swim from Booth out there in 0. But in a tight finish, the touch is all important. Thorpe, Coulter and Timmers, 23.49 and 51. That's how the hundreds separate them with 1 heat to go. Glenn Surgalus and Dieter Diekonink in the centre. Duncan Scott is out at this stage, not swimming. So
Kieran McGuckin in lane 3 there, really good 100 freestyle, 50.5 earlier on in the week, so he's got a lot of speed. One of our top freestylers in the country. See if he can take these Dutch guys on.
Well, the straight arm being preferred by McGuckin. It's working for him as he goes for the wall. 23.09. A good victory. 23.09. Final heat of the 50 freestyle. And, well, to shake that out, you need the electronic. McGuckin, Surgalus out of the A final. Sterling and King. Summary: Schaefers, McGuckin, Thorpe, Coulter, all through. Peter Timmers goes to the B final, of course. And here's that straight arm finish and straight arm stroke.
Yeah, I think the sprinters often prefer that. It allows a little bit more arm momentum all the way through to the finish.
Yeah, brought to favour by, of course, the Olympic gold medalist, Florent Manadou. Only prepared for a few weeks before that 50 freestyle. What a result. But brought it back over the years. There's always one or two who have come. But when you use the straight arm, you need to be absolutely very, very strong. One of the features of Manadou is that, you know, in that huge squad of top sprinters and wonderful, powerful athletes, you know, he throws a medicine ball, you know, almost half as much as anyone else.
Yeah, it's a strange and curious thing. Is often the perception is you need to do lots of weights, lots of gym work to be a good sprinter, and whilst that can help, it really depends on the type of stroke you have, the type of person you are, how you respond to that training. Some people would prefer just to do a lot of speed and technique in the pool itself to actually develop that speed. So I think there's a fine balance, and it will depend on the individual.
Absolutely, you need a certain amount of strength conditioning to, you know, to get the core right and. You know, and to put the power where it should be. But, you know, you had the great Alexander Popov. He didn't do much power weight with training.
No, and Popov was the classic example of pure technique, Drew, wasn't he? He was just such a beautiful swimmer. Absolutely flawless.
Wonderful.
Just got a record update through Twitter here, Drew. New Scottish record for @AndyMullen1 in the S550 freestyle in that last event. So @Ren96com. So well done to Andy.
Yeah, somebody bidding for your job there, Rob. The next event up is a 50. It's the women's 50-metre butterfly. We have 5 heats. 27.19 is the qualifying time selected. And that's quite a tough ask. You've got Sian Harkin at 26.75 entry. And probably a chance for Raquel Matos as well of East Lothian. But at the moment, the only two that figure, but you never know who pops up. That's what championships are all about. This is Heat 1, Women's 50 Butterfly. Paige Lang, no guy in Bearsden in lane 4. 30.6 entry. Same kind of powerful start, good use of the underwater leg kick, breaking into the stroke. And then the problem comes at the end, and it's about where and when do you make the adjustment for the finish. And travelling at this speed, Your decision making has to be quick, has to be good. We haven't seen the best of finishes here at Tollcross this weekend, so let's see if they're listening and learning. Driving in, lane 6-5 getting the touch. Williams at 30.04. Good swim from her with a 30.61. Just a small improvement, but good swimming. Board cleared. Williams 30.4. Cummins at 30.1. And 30.28 from Ingalls. That's for third place.
Yeah, often the swimmers have, in the problem they have in the 50 fly is a meet like this, they're going faster than they've ever gone before, Drew. So actually spotting that finish can be uncharted territory.
Fourteen-year-old Eve White of Dumfries in lane 4 on a 29.98.
Yeah, and the other thing with the 50 fly, Drew, is it's key. The finish is key, but there's also a lot of different components to fly. So actually fitting them in at such a high rate can be very complex and very difficult skill, and that's what the 50 fly is all about. So getting the kick time correctly, the pull time correctly, and keep the momentum and speed going.
Well, a fast 28.1 from the powerful Maike Ramal of Viamst, the 18-year-old in there against 14-year-olds. Good swim from Spencer. The Sterling Summer at 29.98 entry. So good improvement. 28.1, 29.0, 29.7. The top 3 times. Powerful start then in heat 3.
Yeah, what you'll often find is the swimmers won't breathe nearly as often as likes of 100 and 200 flies. So you see lane 4 there, that was her first breath, 30 metres into the race, Drew, which obviously serves to keep the speed going and keep the body nice and flat.
But if you're not in condition, you definitely pay for it even on a 50. As soon as the body's going in any kind of exercise at that speed for 9-10 seconds, you've then got problems of deceleration, and if you add on the fact that you're struggling for breath and air and getting oxygen to the muscles, you can pay. And you've seen it on a 50 where somebody really died a death. But it's a good tactic, and it's something you need to play around with and experiment, just as you say, to find out what's personally best for you. 27.6, 28.2 and 28.3. So the times start to come down as we hit those seeded heats. Here's Shan Harkin in 4, no swimmer in 3, and Sarah Eaglesham next door, Edinburgh University.
Yeah, Shan winning the 53 last night, Drew, so she's obviously on form, got that speed. Coaches obviously timed her taper well. New Stirling coach Ben Higson's had quite a lot of success this year at this meet, so Shan's obviously one of those.
I thought she was kind of slow on the block. It seemed to labour into the start, not the best of reactions. You can see there she's very, very powerful, very strong. Terrible finish, absolutely awful. 27.2. I'm sure they'll pick that up. 27.19 for the qualifying time, a 27.2 with a finish like that and a start like that.
Yeah, plenty of scope for improvement tonight. 1/100th off, just spot that finish half a stroke more. So Shan Harkin 27.20 first there, Shan Morgan 28.61 and Seisman's 28.88.
Following Harkin then, Kimberly Bowes in 4, Fiona Donnelly, the Anglo-Scot, in lane 3. Another spot for you. Sharples in 5. Kimberly Bouse, of course, 25 years of age, mature athlete, different level. Good chance to have Fiona Donnelly swim against her. The Warrender 19-year-old just losing it out in the last 5 as you see Bouse going for the wall. That's the way to finish. Yeah, sound like Long John Silver's parrot there, but it is the way to finish. What you want is to have your arms absolutely extended just as you get to that pad. You need to make the judgment earlier. The last couple of strokes, for me, is too late. You can see it, and you should know. Make the adjustment. So waiting for the confirmation of that 26.94 from Bouse. She's in on a 26.13, and when you think of a big training camp behind you, that's a good swim.
Yeah, you can see the class that Kimberly has there. She's got a lot of power. The stroke length is far superior to the rest, and she's spotted her finish perfectly. That is what you want to do. So she's essentially taken from the flags in 3 strokes out. So as a top class swimmer, you should have that point of reference as you go under the flags. Understand how far it is, how many strokes it takes to get that last 5 metres in, and adjust accordingly. And she's done that perfectly, Drew.
We move on to the men's 800 freestyle. From the short sprint events, we move out to a much more relaxed situation for the 800 freestyle. No qualifying time for nomination, as this event for men is not in the Games programme, so no extra pressure there. There are 4 heats overall in the event. The 4th and fastest heat will be swum in tonight's finals. So you have 3 expositions of the 800 this morning, just to conclude this morning's session. There's a kind of current of discussion goes about the swimming world about the 8 and the 1500, and same for women. There's a camp of thought thinks that the 800 should really be removed. It's just, you know, it's no good to anybody.
Yeah, I think, well, am I right in thinking it remains within like the World Championship programme, but is removed from the Olympic and Commonwealth programme? And I think I guess there's a couple of arguments. That, you know, the first one being that it's already a very crowded programme, and if you've got people like, you know, the top guys in the 1500 and the 400, to slot another one in there at such, you know, an arduous event is going to be tough for them. But the other train of thought is, you know, these are world-class athletes. They should be able to cope with that, and it's another medal chance. So I would tend to go with the latter, Drew. I think that should be included in the programme, that 800.
Okay. Men's 800 then. Now you step up in the 400. You can afford to still call on some speed work in the 800, Rob.
Yeah, it's edging towards the far longer distance, Drew, isn't it? And it's you know, it's relying on superb conditioning, superb pacing, that kind of metronomic type of stroke that we see the best 15 and 800 guys use.
So we're about pacing, and we're about controlling the available energy and working from training into the race event. You need to be able to take the pace work and the hard work at the back of this, the big loads, and put it into the race. Count on that. But racing always brings a different edge, and certainly a different feel. And unless you're in one of these fantastic facilities, you can often be swimming and training in a very different environment throughout the year, and then come to these championships and you're in a, you know, this lovely facility.
Real nice stroke in lane 4 there, Drew. Got Ellis Lawson from first. Nice kind of loping casual stroke, but it's certainly doing the trick, and he's got a nice 4-6 beat leg kick in the back there as well.
Well, I'm sure it's no surprise to the viewers out there that you should highlight a first swimmer.
Well, that wasn't...
that was just an accident, I understand, yes. No, you're right, it's beautifully clean and very relaxed. And he's getting there without, you know, it being a hard swim. That's the difficulty. If it's a hard swim to get the speed and the pace, then you're certainly going to pay, and you're going to be underperforming. But nice balance. And across the pool, nice length on the strokes being kept at the various levels. Hoping to, you know, get somebody beside you and be able to swim with them and against them. Ellis Lawson, the first 10, going through in 2:11. Just to give you a kind of marker, 62, 2:11.
There's always some kind of story that unfolds in these races as well, Drew. So it's whilst it's sometimes the person that goes out first that wins, sometimes people claw back. Some people, you know, prefer to back end swims, negative split swims. So you can never be quite sure how the race is going to unfold.
So sometimes it's just, you take a moment to have a look at the strokes at this level and the way they're approaching the event. And in something that like freestyle, which is common to all swimmers, the majority of training done off freestyle, there's still a variety of interpretations in the technique. And when you get to the distance events, middle distance events, you get a chance to see and to pick out. And we've pointed out the features for you over the last couple of days as he goes through in 3 minutes 20.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the couple of variations I would pick out here, Drew, is you've got Ellis in lane 4. It's got, like I say, a very casual loping type stroke, almost reminiscent of likes of Phelps, where he's very one-sided, but he's still quite balanced. Whereas you've got in lane 5 there a much flatter, potentially slightly untidier, but just as effective stroke that you don't have that kind of imbalance in. And that second example there is probably more traditional for the distance swimmer. And being a little bit more balanced, potentially breathing to both sides.
Well, it comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes. The sport has a great range of body types and interpretation of the principles and techniques across all sports, but often it happens a lot in swimming. You can see that you can go from the size and shape of Sun Yang down and still have good distance swimming. A lot to do with the metabolism, a lot to do with your ability to suffer hard work and to be able to control yourself throughout the kind of 9 minutes. Now we're out at 9:21 here, 9:25. It's a long time to be in control. You think that 10 seconds sometimes is a short period of time, but you can actually do a lot in 10 seconds. So when you've got 9.5 minutes to play with and you have to perform over that period of time, well, that's a big challenge.
Yeah, and it's all about conditioning. I mean, technique is obviously key, and the winners and losers will be decided upon technique, but conditioning plays a massive part in this kind of thing, so especially 500 onwards here, Drew. Tendency maybe just to drop your tempo in anticipation of the last 100 maybe at this stage of the race, so hopefully these guys can keep conscious of that fact and keep going, keep kicking, keep the tempo up.
So the 800, heat 1 of the 3 that we'll see this morning, and Ellis Lawson, a good 10 metres lead on the field. Coming into second place there in lane 5, Jordan Curtis of Kinross. A workman-like stroke. Right hand driving in at the head and pushing forward. Maybe he could carry that a little bit further forward, but again, it's about flexibility and it's about interpretation of technique. But all those little things matter when you're doing so many strokes. Each small error just compounds into, you know, a technique weakness perhaps.
Yeah, and that's where training comes in as well, Drew, isn't it? That we have to practice the right things, the right time, all the time. And these guys, like you alluded to earlier, would predominantly use freestyle in training anyway. So special attention to all the little things in training will convert to this stage.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. Just, you know, 20 small little changes can make a big effect on performance. And, you know, when you come down to different parts of the race, even in, you know, lane 8, Jeremy Scott just holding his own stroke. Obviously not swimming as fast, but it's all about just moving the whole thing up rather than having a good arm action and then trying to add on something later. It's about putting the whole thing together now and then just slowly raising it shelf by shelf in terms of quality. The field spread, the relief of the bell going to Ellis Lawson then. 8 minutes at the turn, the 700 mark, 3:20, 4:29, a 5:40, a little dip in the middle there, 6:49. And now, does he have something for the finish? There's certainly a lot of energy over there in lane 1. Jamie Stewart out of shot at the moment, but almost sprinting up this 50. You maybe see him as Ellis comes on the way back, as the rest of the field head to the wall. You can see there up at the top, a lot of leg kick, high out the water. 25 to go then for Lawson. In on 9:21.83. Good swim. If you can just get in there, come on. Don't leave anything in the pool. Now picking it up. I would have thought that he might have managed a little bit earlier, but anyway, 9:08. Good, strong improvement from a 9:21 entry time. Nicely done from Lawson. And even at the very end, shoulder to shoulder. Lane 6 and 7, just having a little fight to see who gets in first. Ryan Buchanan, Scott Lilburn, both on 9:38 at the end. There, puffing hard but recovering quickly. Just waiting on the board, clearing to get confirmation that all was well. And there we have it. 9:08.3 to Lawson. Curtis in second place with an 18. And across the pool, an 18 to Jamie Stewart. Good start from the boys.
Yeah, Drew, you mentioned the end of that last heat there, the potential that maybe Ellis just left too much in the bag too late on, and it's a fine balance. So we've been talking about pacing the swim, making sure you don't go out too fast, but the other key element is making sure you're spreading the effort over the entire race and you're not leaving too much to the last 50 or 25. It takes time to learn that skill, but that is the other element of the pacing.
So no summer in 4. Fraser Gill, a surprise withdrawal. We knew about Callum Macbeth of Forres and Caelan Doyle of North Lanarkshire. In 7 and 9, the gaps there as well. So the race is already split into 0, 1, 2 and 3 at the top. A pair in the middle in 5 and 6, and out in his own lane 8, Aaron Stowe of the Fife Performance Squad. Just an early lead out from lanes 2 and 3. Tom Bealey, who's been a busy man, and John Wright. Bealey from Aberdeen's done a whole range of events and swam, I think, every morning and afternoon session. Obviously the 14-year-old, super fit and an all-round talent. And here he is in an 800. Nice skills off the wall, maybe an early arm raise to get into the stroke again. Just a bit too keen probably early on.
Yeah, lane 3 there, good push off the wall. Almost had his legs past the flag before he took his first stroke, which is, all these little things add up at over 16 lengths. If you can lock that down in training, get the streamlining off the wall, no breath off the first stroke, it'll really help things.
It's really interesting for me to hear you say that about not breathing off the first stroke. I remember trying to introduce it in the 80s and the 90s, and well, it was hard going.
Yeah, and you still see lots of examples of it not happening, but I think it's all about discipline, isn't it? Discipline in training, through what the coaches implement in training, and making sure at a very early age they get into that habit. It's all about habits. Swimming across the board is about habits, and that's definitely one bad one.
I have to tell you the story because it was just so funny. At the Olympics after the swimming, I went to stay with a former swimmer who's now in her 40s, and she had just started Masters swimming. She went along to Crystal Palace and joined the Masters group, and she was only in about half an hour. And the coach stopped the squad and asked my swimmer, ex-swimmer, to show them a turn because she didn't breathe on the first or the second, and then went for the third. And he said, that's the way to turn. And she blamed me for being a demonstration swimmer. How about that?
Good standards, Drew.
Good standards. No, good muscle memory by the swimmer.
Yeah, and obviously the key point there is why a swimmer wouldn't do that is obviously the need for air. So you're pushing off, you're in a tough race or a tough training session. The natural instinct is to turn your head and breathe, and it's just breaking that cycle, I think.
Yeah, and when you breathe, it's breaking streamlining and interrupting the flow off the wall, the actual speed off the wall. So it's a good skill to have, and it's tiny, but can make a difference. Well, the race still going according to form. There's a bank of swimmers. The 5 in the second wave, as you would see it from the high camera viewpoint there. Across the pool, quite level, a couple of them. But up front, Tom Bealey, John Wright, have had a battle from the beginning. Going through in 4:26. Now with a 4:29 in the previous heat. But steady all the way for Ellis Lawson, remember. So let's have a look at Tom and John. See how they're working.
So I reckon they'll be at the stage in the race, Drew, where their 100 splits or the 100 repeats will be kind of what they've been practicing training. So if you're looking at 9-minute pace type pace here, you're looking at 67, 66s, 68s, that kind of pace, and you would expect that these swimmers would be doing that continually and consistently in training to prepare for this type of race.
Well, making the break a little bit, John Wright of North Ayrshire, 16-year-old, Tom Bealey, the 14-year-old, not responding, and that's maybe a good thing. If you try and somebody else's race, then that can be disastrous. So he's letting Wright go at the moment, but just trying to hold his own stroke and his own event program, pace race plan. But Wright making the break, just trying to put a little bit of pressure onto Tom Bealey and saying, well, I'm feeling good. But again, the question gets raised, will he have the cost to pay later on in the swim? Third place, in lane 6, James Lauder, Heart of Midlothian. Across the pool then, battling out for 3rd and 4th and 5th. You've got James Coyler, and you've got James Lauder, and you've got Aaron Stowe. They've been busy people. I can remember these names in morning and evening, afternoon sessions as they qualify for different events at different levels. Although the events are the same morning and afternoon, you could be good in one and not so good in another, but still qualify. So it can be a long day for these middle-aged groupers. And that's what we have in the pool at the moment. 14, 15, 16-year-olds still in development. A lot to learn, a lot to experience, and this is the best place to do it. So a good break from John over that last 150, and looking like a clear victor. And he's actually working, for me, a little smoother, just as if he's got through a little barrier there.
Yeah, he seemed to pick up the pace slightly there, Drew. That's a 33 low of 50 there. And often when you pick up the pace and you get a little bit more momentum in your stroke, that smooths things out. When you're a little bit too casual, that can make things a bit messier. So I think that's probably worked for him, and hopefully he can keep that pace going in the last 100.
Well, in the early part, swimming with Tom Bealey, that was comfortable for him, obviously. And if you are swimming a bit slow, then you're lower in the water, and it just feels, you know, a little bit harder sometimes. 7:48 on the way through. Remember, John Wright, 9:07. That's the entry time. .7:48 on the way through. Wright, then Bealey, and then a little catch up on the Heart of Midlothian swimmer. Very individual technique there, and all trying to find something at the end of the swim. Good, strong last 250 actually, building and building, and look at this. Lots of strength and energy left from John Wright, North Ayrshire. Driving into the wall. He's entered on 9:07, and here he goes with an 8:52.75. Well, the early caution left him a lot of speed and energy. Bealey in 9:02. He's a 9:09 man, so starting to hit their entry times. And then a very tired looking third place to the Heart of Midlothian, James Lauder, 9:08 entry time. Lauder out at 9:10. So 2 swimmers with a personal best, and the others back to the drawing board. 8:52.75, nice swim from Wright. Bealey in second place, 9:02.59. Had to let Wright go with 250 to go. Lauder, 9:10.65 for third. Heat 3. Again, disappointing not to see Morgan Berryman out in lane 4, the Ulster swimmer. No swimmer in lane 9 either in this third heat. Fraser Reid of Carnegie's over in 0. James Stephen in 1, and Ryan Retson both from first, club mates, so a little battle there. Close entries. Joe Steele, South Aberdeen. Then we're over to Oliver Bitout of Loughborough. He's had some brave swims. Hamish Milne, the younger brother of Stephen Milne from Perth. Mark McRae, South Lanarkshire. Patrick Smith, South Ayrshire in 8. Maybe the Milne family with the same kind of genes.
Yeah. Interesting contrast, Drew, in lane 5 and lane 3, so Oliver and Joe. So you've got Oliver, who's essentially just trailing his legs, a 2-beat kick at best, certainly in the middle of the pool. Very top heavy, very arm driven, whereas Joe's got that constant beat kick. Obviously the preference is the latter, but depending on how you train and how your physiology works, how strong you are in the upper body compared to the lower body, it can sometimes work for you, and the lack of leg kick can help in the latter stages with conserving energy. So interesting contrast there.
Yeah, this is the way that Boutout swam in the 1500. Very little leg kick, just a reaction. And then he was able to bring it in at the end, having saved them all the way. Of course, Oliver, 18 years of age, out of the Loughborough club, and building up a very early lead even at the 200 mark. And we're going through in 2:03 now. Now that's a big difference to the 2:11s that we've seen and the 2:9s. So very promising start from Boutout. He's entered on 8:36. So this heat has the potential to produce a much faster swim, certainly at the front end. With the seeding, you've got 9:04s, 9:05s on the outside lanes. And you saw that being broken in the previous heat by Wright and Billy. So great range of ability even within the heat, and unless you're side by side, then your race is really about you. You're in your own little world, in your own little bubble, and the targets that you may have set yourself or worked out with your coach. 3:06.
So you've got a base 100 speed there. Well, certainly in the early stages of kind of 103s. Drew, so hitting that 8:30 is certainly doable based on the early evidence, and that's the key difference, is being able to hold that 100 pace throughout, and that's kind of what will maybe set Oliver apart from the rest of the guys in this field. He's just base speed is just that 2 or 3 seconds quicker.
When you're developing these age groupers, do you think about the pace for 50s or pace on 100s, or how do you break the 800 up?
I think it depends how you want to introduce the varieties. So certainly for the longer distance guys, certainly 8 and 1500, you would probably want to introduce hard quality sets at 100s and 200s. But you would also want occasionally to do some faster, longer rest stuff in the 50s. So it's all about what you want to achieve from the training session. If you want just base race pace stuff, good quality work, then you would maybe do 50s or 100s with a longer rest. If you wanted some more aerobic stuff, you would do longer reps with shorter rests. It's just that balance between right in the session.
Well, holding form, maybe not holding the same speed, but nice use of his skills. You can see there the first 4 strokes, little kind of hiccup, little limp, and then he gets into a much more even rhythm. But because he's breathing every 2, of course, he's got an interruption every stroke cycle. So battles going on all over the pool, moving into a strong second place. We have in lane 3 Joe Steele. And then side by side, Retson and Stephen from the first club, and that's the way it might be for them, of course. One's on 8:59, that's Ryan, and James is on 9:04, but they're swimming very tidily together. Over here in 8, Patrick Smith, just working away in his own swim. And the final swimmer, Mark McRae, South Lanark, in 7. Trailing quite a bit at the moment, but has a 9:03 to his credit somewhere. Now you can see as you look at Oliver starting to shorten up a little bit. The arm's not quite as far forward, the head lifting to check the wall there for some reason. Goes through in 6 minutes 20. And that's a big improvement on previous heats. It's a very committed swim here.
Yeah, he's fluttering his legs slightly more this last 50. Probably psychologically something's twigged in his head that this is the last 200 and it's time to wind things up.
So Oliver Bitout, the race leader from early on, and just a chance to see the little kick that brings him back into the surface. The legs just active a little more. He started to pick up again. He started to stretch, almost as if he heard us. As he comes down to the bell. Remember, going through 7:48 in the previous heat, and you'll see 7:26 on the board.
Yes, he's a different swimmer when he brings his legs to life there, Drew. Like you say, a little bit higher in the water, a little bit more fluent, and maybe just create a little bit more speed.
So Oliver Bitout then, 25 to go. This race a little quiet because he just dominated, absolutely dominated this. No competition, and of course with Morgan Berryman missing, no real competition. So driving in, trying to get his finish, 8:29.96. Good sub 8:30. Nice positive swim from the Loughborough man. Racing at the finish, well, good swim from Joe Steele and Ryan Retson, winning the battle of the first swimmers as you would expect. Retson coming in an 8:49. It's a good improvement, a good 10-second improvement on the entry time. That's all we can go by. Whether that's long course or short course, you just move to the next mark. Patrick Smith getting in 9:08, just a little off his entry time, and still over there in 0. Fraser Reid will complete this event for for the morning heats. And that's it over. 800. Confirming 8:29 for first place. Steele 48, Retson 49. Now that's first place in that particular third heat. These times will now go into the bank and be ranked in the order fastest to slowest, and then await the results of tonight's fourth heat, which will be swum in the final session, and then the medals will be able to be allocated. It's always possible that somebody from an early heat gets in amongst that. It's not regular, but it has been done, even at the top meets, as Oliver there enjoys his 15 seconds of televised fame. Good swim though, 8:29 off an 8:36. Remember, the faster your entry, the harder it is to get a personal best. So, from this morning's session, anything that caught your eye?
Yeah, I think what did catch my eye was obviously Richard Schaefer's 1/100th off the nomination time in the 53. So I'd be really hopeful he can push a little bit harder in the final, maybe dip under that 22.5. That would be excellent. And obviously the big one for me, based on last night, is Jameson and Murdoch in the 100 breaststroke, and that head-to-head. That's going to be really fascinating based on both the 50 and the 200 metres that have gone before. So those are the two key highlights for me, Drew.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. And this is the multi-classification presentation from this morning's swim.
British disability points, Hope Gordon. The Scottish Gas national champion representing City of Glasgow, 708 disability points, Rosie Bancroft. Congratulations, ladies. Your medalists from the 400 metres freestyle multi-classification.
Well, that's the morning session finished, and we've got lots to look forward to for this evening. There's more swimming this afternoon, of course. My thanks to commentator Rob Lee. I'm sure it's an interesting initiation for him. To our sponsors, Glasgow Live, Scottish Gas and the production team. Now we'll be back in just over the hour for more live action. It starts, of course, at 1 p.m. BST, the session at 1:15.
.97 disability points, April McKee. The Scottish Gas national champion with 416 disability points, representing North Lanarkshire, Amy McFarlane. Ladies and gentlemen, your medalists for the multi-classification 100 metres backstroke women. So that concludes proceedings for session 7. Our thanks to technical officials, and we now invite them to leave the poolside.
So we hope that you'll stay with us. And let's look at what we have in the next session. Of course, you have a rerun of the same events from the morning. It's the slightly slower heats. But at the end, we have a men's 4x100 freestyle relay. And we'll see at least one heat of that. Maybe the second heat for the finals. The same program through. Still a chance to swim a good time and make it into a B final. Unlikely to make it into the A finals on that program. But you just never know. It's sport. And it can happen. So we hope that you will join us as we prepare. We're back on air at 1 p.m. British Standard Time, and from me, Drew Gordon at the moment, all of us here at Tollcross International Swimming Centre, it's good afternoon. Stay with us and keep tweeting.
So if you're in Aberdeen, 5th to 12th of April, come along, Aberdeen Sports Village. For more information at scottishswimming.com/CWPC 2014.
Was great, but I'm getting ready to make 2014 even better.
It'll be a great night just to catch up, relax, and you know, as a swimmer actually get to dress up and look normal.
And then a chance to see lots of people from all around different parts of swimming and have a good evening with them.
The awards ceremony was fantastic with most people turned out ever, so years to come it's just going to get bigger and bigger.